New challenges, a brand new year, and a brand new track brings us to the first step on the way to a championship in the heart of Georgia. We're live from the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. We welcome you to the first race of Season 6 for the brand new Sunoco Cup Series and the Sunoco UltraTech 200 on Podium Esports. Glad to have you for the show tonight on your Sunday, where alongside DJ Clark in the broadcast booth, my name is Kenneth Bueno. And DJ, we are back. We had a bit of a break between this off season. We had a brand new sponsor come in, Sunoco, brand new colors, a brand new look, and overall a brand new feel. It's going to be so much fun when we wave the green from Atlanta this evening.
Yeah, it certainly is, and what better way to get things started than at a brand new track. Now, I know what you may be thinking, Atlanta Motor Speedway, that's been on the circuit for years, but let's not forget that last year, both iRacing and in the real world, reprofiled this circuit, added some wicked banking around this mile-and-a-half oval, and it has really and truly turned this into a wild card of a race.
It will be a wild card, and usually we start the season, at least for most leagues, at Daytona, but we're going to be here at Atlanta. We're going to have the best of both worlds. We're going to have that 1.5 mile field, but we're going to have the excitement and the chaos of a super speedway. Going to make for a unique opener, and of course, it's going to put a lot on the line, DJ, for the drivers. They're going to be wanting to win this first race. They want to be as momentous as possible going into the championship, so there's a lot of new things to look forward to as well.
Yeah, a lot of new things to look forward to and a lot of impetus for these drivers to do well here. Obviously, you want to get that win, lock yourself into the playoffs early, but you're going to have to try to push yourself here as you go. But it's going to be a pretty frenetic race, I think. We may see a little bit of an unexpected victor make their way up to the top. But there's only one way to find out how that's going to happen, and that's letting these next-gen NASCARs loose around Atlanta Motor Speedway.
We'll cover all the details. We'll cover all the little things that you need to know before we wave the green flag here in this Sunoco UltraTech 200. We also might just have a word with the league owner himself, Dakota Curtis, as we step into what's kind of considered a brand new age for the series. And with that, I believe we will have our league owner, Dakota Curtis, come in to speak with us for a moment. Dakota, first of all, welcome to the broadcast booth. Thank you for taking some time out of the preparations of this first race to join us. Just first of all, walk us through your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts, coming fresh off the offseason and now waving the green flag for the first race of Season 6 here at Atlanta.
Yeah, first off, guys, thank you guys for having me, and we're excited to be back. We're excited to be back here with Podium Esports back in for another season. It was a good off season, and I'm happy to have us back into the swing of things and bring in a new sponsor this season. So I'm super happy to have them on too.
Kind of like a back to school feel where everyone's gathering around and getting back to go again here for championship in Season 6. But I want to talk as well about the way this series is moving forward, especially in this campaign for 2023. We start the season at a track where most leagues wouldn't even dare touch for race number 1. What do you make of Atlanta being the first race and the overall level of competition that we should expect all season?
Yeah, so what we wanted to do is, we wanted to start somewhere in the season. We wanted to take a good off season because we didn't have much time between our last season where we did a full length season, and then we had our winter series, and we didn't really have a much break between that. So we took about a month break. Didn't want to start out at Daytona, but we were like, you know what? There's another track out there that is very similar to Daytona and like the racing feel with draft and everything like that, and pretty much a toss-up of whoever can win tonight. So we want to start there, and we really wanted to kick the season off with a bang. So
certainly looks like this season is going to kick off with a bang. As for yourself, I know you're one of the drivers in this series with the Zero G team. You got a couple of your teammates out on track tonight, and of course everybody else around you. What are your thoughts now as a driver? Excitement, anxiety, anticipation? What are you feeling before the first race?
Oh, super excited. I mean, I brought on a big sponsor at the end of last season with Sunoco, and super excited to have them on board this whole season. So they're my main sponsor for every single race, and they were nice enough to come on and actually sponsor the whole league. So we got the Sunoco Ford Mustang and the Sunoco Cup Series. So we're excited to get the car on the track and hopefully win a couple races this season. Just got to shake the bad luck. I've had multiple times where I've gotten second place over and over and over and over, but I haven't been able to put my car in victory lane yet, so hopefully that changes the season, and we kick the season off right. Hopefully here at Atlanta. So.
Well, hopefully we do kick off the season the right way. I know Sunoco, a very exciting partnership for this series and all the great things to look forward to in 2023. Dakota, on behalf of our broadcast team, thank you so much for taking some time to join us, and best of luck on track tonight when we wave the green flag.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
So that is Dakota Curtis, the driver for Zero G, driver of the 10, and of course the league owner. He's going to be at the helm of the ship all year long. And with that, we will take a note and move over to the driver who's not at the helm of the ship, but at the helm of the series trophy. Lawson Peel, a dominating season last time by, and is coming in as the defending series crown holder when we get the green from Atlanta Motor Speedway. And Lawson, I know off of last season where you pretty much put it on the rest of the field, you won your first series title. How did that feel in that break for the offseason? And now what are your thoughts as you look for a title defense this time?
Man, it felt great. I knew all year it was going to come down to Phoenix, which was a big question mark for me. And it was a tough race, but a lot of things went my way. And there was times that race where, all three of my competitors in the Final Four were beating me. And I still give credit to the fact that I won the pole and got out first on that last set of pit stops. But man, it was just such a blast, such a fun season. I just enjoy being a part of this league. Awesome to win the title. I'm very honored to do that, and looking forward to this next season, and just kind of relaxing and approaching it with a little bit more of a less stressed, approach, and just kind of going out and having fun, knowing that I won the title last year and try to defend. So hopefully I don't have the sophomore slump or the champion's curse or whatever you want to call it. But looking forward to getting things rolling here tonight, and really excited.
Of course, all the excitement going into this season, and I know that you this time around, after the full-length season last time around, you get a little more minimized of a schedule this time through. Do you feel like that makes it a little easier on your route to 2 titles in a row, or do you think with the level of competition, it's going to be all the more tough to get back to the top stage?
Yeah, it'll definitely be different. Just looking at the tracks, certainly no way I'm going to win as many races this season as last year, or, like a proportionate percentage. Just it's going to be a tougher schedule, and, lots of opportunities for people to get wins. And I'm liking the way it looks. I'm loving the fact that it's going to end at Homestead. I love Homestead. Much rather prefer that for a finale as an alternative to Phoenix. But yeah, we're just going to have to see. I think it's going to be different, and it's going to give a lot of people a lot of opportunities. And looking forward to more of a condensed schedule this time around. That was fun doing the whole full stretch last year, but yeah, it can go on and on and on. And not much turnaround in between. So looking forward to this. Props to Dakota and the guys for giving this a try. Awesome to have Sunoco on board as the sponsor this season, and having you guys at Podium broadcasting us again. So everything is just shaping out to look like it's going to be a great season.
First off, I'm going to say I do echo your sentiment about Homestead of Miami being the finale. I love that track 150%. But
it's your home territory down there, right?
Yeah, but nonetheless, I know it's hard to put no stress and Atlanta in the same sentence, but Lawson, a great season overall last season. Again, congratulations on that title, and looking forward to seeing you and your Drinking Bros Racing team head out here from Atlanta and kick off season 6. Appreciate the time, and best of luck on track.
Thank you, Kenneth. Appreciate it, man. Looking forward to it, and can't wait to watch it back.
So that is Lawson Peel, driver of the 12 in his title defense run here in 2023. And DJ, I want to talk about a point that he brought up in one of his answers, is the reformed schedule. Last year, we had a full series calendar following the NASCAR Cup Series in real life. This time, though, the league owners have taken a different approach, and it could all the more, DJ, make this series and this season so very exciting over the year.
Yeah, just a 20-race schedule this time, cutting out about 16 or odd races there from all of that. It's really going to put a lot more impetus on these drivers, I think, to get a good result. You've only got 13 races until you get to the playoffs, and that's really and truly going to raise just how much you've got to get that win. You've got to get those points in. Otherwise, you're going to find yourselves in real problems come Nashville.
That's a really big point, is that when you condense the schedule, yeah, it makes things more stressful and probably putting some more pressure on Lawson Hill and the entire field to go out and get a win, not have to deal with the stresses of points racing by the time we get to Daytona to close off the regular season. So drivers are going to line up behind the iRacing official pace car. We'll give you your starting grid, see exactly where every driver and your favorite driver will be lining up here tonight from Atlanta Motor Speedway. But DJ, I do also want to talk about this track. Atlanta has been around for so long in real life and in the sim, but this is a brand new look.
Yeah, brand new look for Atlanta, 28 degrees banking. You've heard us talk about it. That really and truly makes this circuit drive like a super speedway. We're going to be talking about bump drafting. We're going to be talking about pack racing here tonight. That is going to be a big thing. You're going to be seeing speeds of upwards of 180 miles an hour, 190 through these corners and on these straightaways, and that means this is going to be a quick race. Not only are these laps going to fly at you very quickly, but also the speeds these drivers are going to be dealing with, it is going to require absolutely just quick reflexes the entire way around.
And it is really tough to drive this Atlanta Motor Speedway, although it is full throttle and a high bank track. You're looking at situations where you can get tight, you can get loose, and overall, so many things can happen in the middle of a pack. Let's take a look at our race analysis before we actually get through some of the qualifying that you'll see before we drop the green. From Hampton, Georgia, we go a total of 130 laps, 200 miles, 322.4 kilometers, and much like the previous editions of this series, we do go stage racing, so there are two distinct breaks in this race. One at the end of lap 30, one at the end of lap 60, and then the final one coming at 130 when we wave the checkered. 3 green-white checkered attempts to settle this race if we need it, but the biggest thing, DJ, to note, especially at a track like Atlanta Motor Speedway, is that there are no faster pairs. You do not get a freebie. If your car gets junked, you have to be tiptoey with this next-gen car all the way around from 1 to 130.
Yeah, you've got to be very careful here, and that's where some of that high speed that I talked about is going to be a real problem for some drivers. If they get themselves into problems, they're not going to be able to come back into pit lane and get that car all fixed up and headed back out on track. And so that really and truly means you have got to stay clean and green here for the entirety of this running. And as we talk about, like a lot of the times we talk about when we go to Dega, when we go to Daytona, I think a big key here is going to be qualifying up front, not necessarily to get yourself a good position in terms of the racing action, but just to keep yourself out of trouble.
Yeah, that is going to be the big thing, and we talk about at the big super speedways, the big one that strikes in the middle or the front or the very back of the field, you need to make sure you're probably up at the front. You want to secure yourself in the best way possible. We're watching some of the drivers take their time in qualifying. Of course, here at Atlanta, it is a little different than what you would expect at the traditional Daytona or Talladega. You're looking on board with the 51 of Zach Wilson, taking that high line, and DJ, while there are similarities between where you would qualify at Daytona, Talladega, and here you just kind of have to drive this track a little differently because it's way smaller, you got way more banking, and it's a very different track as you've got the 2 laps and the time to put in a qualifying effort.
Yeah, you really do, and we're seeing a lot of drivers taking that mid to high line, particularly for their first laps there to keep up momentum as much as possible. What's surprising me a little bit is I'm seeing more than a few drivers continuing that line all the way around the circuit, just opting to keep up good timing, to keep up good momentum as they run around. And then it's really, once we get down to this second lap, that's where we're going to see the 51 duck down a little bit more. Zach Wilson hugging that red line around the circuit, just trying to get the best speed from point A to point B.
And riding that top line all the way around the racetrack, he put in a time good enough for 19th, but just because he's gaining that momentum off the final corner over that first lap, the second lap when he crosses the stripe is the money. He's going to go for the apron. He'll cross the start-finish line. We'll see where he is in reference of everyone else. It looks like time good enough for 5th. For Zach Wilson in the number 51. We've seen him capture many wins in this series prior, and we see a couple of more drivers also taking their hand at qualifying. So we're going to have a full 42-car field, which DJ, I think, only puts more pressure on the field if you want to qualify up front, because it's not like if you don't qualify, you're just kind of going to be in the mid-pack and maybe you've got some spots to gain. No, you're probably going to be at the dead end of this field. You need to be very careful.
Yeah, you've got to be very, very careful. And as we talked about, not only because of any problems that you may encounter or any bad runs that you may get, but because you've got to watch out for those incidents. If the big one fires off, you're going to be right in the firing line if you're mid to lower pack here. As we watch a few more drivers trying to put in those times. Looks like our reigning champion, Lawson Peel, headed out onto the track right now. Shoemaker also going out there as Hurley and Muscarella putting down some good times that'll get them 8th and 9th respectively.
Gonna be good for them. You were watching Jesse Whittington in the 94, who switches manufacturers for this season of the Sunoco Cup Series. Used to drive a Toyota Camry, was actually a rookie driver not too long ago. So now on the first time, I think, sophomore season for the 94, and puts in a qualifying time that is good enough for 8th on the racetrack. There's a look at your defending series champion, the one that we talked to just a couple of moments ago, and there has to be some of that mounting pressure on looking to defend a title and making sure that no one rips it away from your hands. That 12 will come across the stripe, and it looks like we'll put in a time for 27th, but we'll keep it up and we'll go all the way to the inside, and we'll see what Lawson Peel can do here.
Yeah, this is the money lap here for Lawson. As we said, it's going to be the second lap. You ride that mid to high lane a little bit longer around the circuit here at this point to just keep up that speed, and then you duck it down low to try to maximize your time around the circuit. Looks like he's got good lines, not flirting too much with that red line down on the apron that's going to cause him to scrub some speed. This looks like a good lap here from Lawson.
We'll see what the 12 can put up. Cross the line. That is second for the driver of the 12. And Lawson Peel will be on the outside of row number 1, at least for now. We've still got drivers that are yet to qualify. You see a couple of more drivers on track, one of them being the 46, Joseph Mohar, in his machine. Actually also drove a Toyota Camry not too long ago in this series, but a nice change of look for the 46. We'll see what he can do as he wraps the top side here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll see what kind of lap he can put down here at this track. There are, according to the timing and scoring, 3 minutes or so before we get to the end of this, and the driver of the 46, DJ, actually a part of a new team, part of SK Sim Racing. So with Sean Kalis and Judd Danielson, used to be part of the Abruzzi Racing Camp in this series a couple of seasons back. Mohar joins the group and drives a Mustang this time around. I think some new opportunities for one of the greatest, or one of the better rookie drivers that we saw not too long ago.
Yeah, and he's going to be looking to repeat that success here, really cutting the apron down low as he's going to cross over the stripe right now. That'll be good enough for 13th. And yeah, you know, changing up those teams, changing up those alliances that you have. It's not like you're running in an open setup series where that's going to be changing your setup. This is a iRacing fixed setup series league. But what it is going to do is that those drivers that you're going to be working around, specifically when we talk about here today in the bump draft, in the pack racing, if you're going to be able to hook up with your teammates, that's where you want to be. And so you want to try to find them to play together.
So the 46 will come in for pit row to watch another one of the drivers that's putting in their laps. This is Joe Sanchez in the 55, teammate of Lawson Peel and Brandon Banks, and a 3-car team for Drinkin' Bros Racing. So let's see what the 55 can hold. It wraps the red and white line on the inside here on the racetrack, turns 3 and 4. And Sanchez will be all the way at the bottom. Will not take the apron all the way around. It looks like going to go for the second lap, so should take the apron this time through. And it's going to be interesting as well, DJ, to see the way these stages work out, because you don't have that long of a race. It's only 130 laps, but each stage 30 laps, so maybe aggression could be something we'll talk about, as you know, there are points on the line, playoff points at stake as well, so you got to keep that if you're a driver and understand what you may want to or not want to do in terms of getting yourself in trouble or getting yourself up front for stages.
Yeah, you're going to have to play a little bit of that strategy card there and really think about it, as the 55 has a great qualifying time there. That's going to be good enough for 8th place there for Joe Sanchez. But you're really going to have to think about that strategy, the 30-30-70 run here, figure out where you want to place yourself, capitalize on some of those stage break points, and really walk away with it. That's going to change up the calculus here for some of these drivers.
Another driver taking time on track right now. Looks like Brad Fulham has put a time in for 18th on the track, but this is the 54. This is Brandon Banks out on the racing surface. It looks like he's going to duck for the apron as qualifying will go for a close. We'll head to the final 20 seconds, but it looks like this field is settled. So we will take things trackside, give you your starting grid for tonight's Sunoco UltraTech 200 from the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. Colin Forrester in the number 31 is on pole, will be the first to see the green flag for Fast Banana Racing, puts up a 31.525, and of course our defending series champion, we saw him put up the lap in real time. Lawson Peel going to join him in row number 1. Austin Reedy in the 96, same driver for Fast Banana Racing, will start third. Mario Miranda from Tulsa, Oklahoma for 0G. He'll be on the outside in row number 2. Ross Harlow in the 5, one of our previous series champions. He's going to start inside 5th. Brandon Banks in the 54 will be on the outside in P6. Curtis Kelly rolls off from 7th this evening from Atlanta. Warren Kyle Keith in the number 24 for SKM will be on the outside in 8th. And then the final 2 drivers inside your top 10, the 55 of Joe Sanchez and the 9 of Bill Schoonover.
In 11th place, it's going to be Zach Wilson, followed by Jesse Whittington there in the number 94. Then lining up in 13th position, that's going to be Kevin Hurley and Alex Muscarella in the number 48 for SKM. In the next row, in row 8, it'll be Parker Bland and Joe Maher there for SK in the number 46. Then following them, it's Sean Kalist and Brad Fulham in 18th. 19th position will be Chris Shoemaker, and Kip Easley will round out your top 20.
21st will go to Aaron Adcock in the number 23, joined alongside by Richard Swavely, driver in the championship for a couple of seasons back in this series. Justin Erb in the 20 will be in 23rd. 24th will go to 0G's number 81. Steven Stepien in row number 12. Wyatt Brackett in the number 30 is inside the top 25 for Fast Banana Racing. Justin Miller in the 22 on the outside in 26. Followed by 27th and 28th, row 14. James Kunkel in the 3. Logan Sturgeon in the number 26. Fun look for Gary Sexton for 0G. He joins this series in one of Podium Esports' own. Isaac Mock will be alongside him in that 15th row. And then we'll get to the final batch of drivers in this field, DJ, starting with Justin Winters and Austin Shoemaker, row 16.
Yeah, and then as we look back into row 17, it'll be Dakota Curtis, who we were able to talk to a little bit earlier, and then Dakota Wilson to his outside. Back in row 18, it's going to be Ray Rogers and Garrett Brown. Then as we look a little bit farther back there in row 19, Ryan Kendall and Judd Danielson to round out the top 38 or so. Starting off at 39th, it'll be Travis Stevens and Justin Reeves to round out your top 40. And then we'll bring you through the last 3 drivers on the field. That's going to be Casey Knighton and Chris Progar. And then in the final row here, it will be Chuck Phelps to round out your 43-car grid.
Said 42 add 1, 43 cars full here for the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. Again, our race analysis: 30 laps for stage number 1, 30 laps for stage number 2, and then 70 to close off this 130 lap race, where we go just over 200 miles and just over 322 kilometers here in virtual Georgia. Track temp looking at about 118. It is really crisp, DJ Clark, and that's probably going to slicken these cars up, provide for a little more squirrely action than these drivers would like. But your thoughts before we drop the green here?
Well, I think they're really going to have to watch out for that heat. They're going to have to watch out for a lot of slipping and sliding here at this point. Those tires here, the Goodyears, like to heat up a little bit too much. And with 119 track temperature, you're going to want to try to keep that as smooth as possible as they work their way through these corners. But really and truly here, Kenneth, this is all going to be about patience. You can't lose this race in the first lap, but you can win this race in the first lap, but you certainly can lose it. You've just got to get to the end of these 130 laps, and that will get you a good race result.
So the field in the hands of the iRacing official pace car, of course, getting the green this time by. This is just the first of 2 times we'll see this Atlanta Motor Speedway in Season 6. We will see this track pop up later in the year in the playoffs. Second race of the playoffs, to be exact, right after Nashville Super Speedway. So it'll be a while before these drivers see this track, but one thing for sure, they want to make the most of this scenario that's right in front of them. And the biggest thing, get a win in race number 1. You've got all the time to experiment from race 2 to race 13, and then push for the playoffs. And that extra time could be so very precious and valuable. Pace car will make that left to the entrance of pit road. Colin Forster and Lawson Peel, the 31 and the 12, will bring us to the green in the Sunoco UltraTech 200. Let's bring in the new era. The Sunoco Cup Series Season 6 is green. Forster leads lap 1. Austin Reedy to give support in the 96 as they get back to turn 1, but this should be a good rebound for Lawson Peel, and the driver assisting him in the 99 of Mario Miranda should get them back even at the entrance of turn 3. We're gridlocked for P1.
Yeah, we're gridlocked for P1 there. The high lane a little bit farther back, looking a little bit scruffy. They're going to want to try to get themselves together here, as you're going to need as much momentum and as much energy as possible to really challenge down on that low line. Colin Forster starting to pull away here a little bit, although Peel gets a nice little bump draft there from the 99 of Miranda behind him to try to keep up a little bit more. But again, some definite scruffiness farther back in the field. They've got to work themselves up together a little bit more if they want to try to cane in here and maybe get a third lane working.
And you're looking at some of the distance in the back half of the top 10. I saw over that first lap or so, Brandon Banks and Parker Bland were just hanging back, leaving a lot of separation to the driver of the 25 and Kevin Hurley on the inside, and then Joe Sanchez in the 55 on the very top. So a lot of these drivers being a little cautious here in the opening runs of this race. I believe there's a lap car up in front of the field. In fact, two of them, one of them going to be the number 2 Travis Stevens and the number 88 Justin Winters. So we should approach lap traffic quicker than these drivers expect, but still even for the lead. DJ, is some of the type of racing that we expect to see at this Atlanta and this reconfigured version of the track.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of dancing here, and that's the thing that has struck me when I've watched the races from Atlanta, is that it's not like Daytona or Dega where those lines are going to stay relatively together and relatively in a straight line, as it were. You're going to see a lot of dancing back and forth here among lines as they try to feel themselves out. This track is just so fast and so relatively narrow compared to the other super speedways that we run to, as there we look out the back of what it has to be said is one of the most terrifying positions I have ever seen. Travis Stevenson about to go a lap down.
Yeah, and they're going to narrow up the line into turn 1, so that's going to force Austin Reedy and Zach Wilson, those drivers in the second row, farther up the racetrack. It should kind of crunch up the field a little bit. It'll bring the 54 of Banks, the 81 of Steven Stempien, and now the 4 of Chris Shoemaker closer together to the drivers up in the front. Steven's going to back out. Looks like we'll hold that inside line. No troubles getting around the first lap car, but it's not going to be long before they get to the second in that number 88 of Justin Winters. You brought up a good point there, DJ, about these cars dancing at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And while, yes, you can keep that super speedway mindset, what things as a driver that you have to change behind the wheel when you go to a track like this that is so unique and so different to all the others we race?
Yeah, you really and truly do. You've got to just drive the car a little bit less white-knuckly and be a little bit more loose with your inputs. You obviously don't want to let the car be drifting up the track, making contact with anybody around you, but you've got to be a little bit more loosey-goosey in the way that you drive it and let everything continue to just kind of play itself out. Much like we saw Lawson Peel do up at the front of this field, Lawson was able to recognize some good advantage, jump down into the front of Colin Forster, and now they're starting to pull away a little bit on the rest of this pack, although the 99 here of Miranda started to close down a little bit more.
You're right on board with the Tulsa, Oklahoma native and a driver who did run in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series for Sooner Esports. The 99, one of the best young drivers in this series, is still yet to capture a championship, but we should know that time might be coming sooner than later with how good he has raced in this car and in this series respectively. He'll give a huge push to the 96 of Austin Reedy, and how about a switchover? Colin Forster to the outside for the lead in turn 3.
And look at that. That is poetry in motion. When you talk about Miranda to Reedy, Reedy to Forster, just a perfect little 1, 2, 3. It's almost like a Newton's cradle of pumping there. That's exactly how you want to get good momentum built up on a high line.
and that's a power move by Forcer. Recognized how good that outside lane was going to be on the back straightaway, went up for it and never looked back. Lawson Peel drops to about 4 to 5 cars off of that outside lane. They are hauling at the top of the 28 degrees of banking. Question is, will they drop in front of the 12? The answer seems to be no, and interestingly enough, the teammates of Drinkin' Bros Racing not going to work together this time by. At 55 is Sanchez, not looking to assist at 12. Here's a look on board with Peel. Now it appears DBR will be 1-2 on the inside lane. Sanchez trying to power to the lead. He'll get the 12 with him.
And there's going to be a big bump here coming off the corner. Lawson giving a big old shove to the back of that 55. I don't know if it's going to be quite enough momentum to get them away up forward into the lead of this race, but it's certainly going to be enough to put them into good contention here as they run the low lane here. Now looking like that was Roswell Harlow running in 3rd place down in that low lane. He looked a little bit squirrely down on the apron, but able to keep it gathered up underneath him.
Yeah, had to back out at that point. We'll get some distance between himself and the 12. Here's a look at this second pack, which is further back through around the top 25 or so, beneath the top 25 to be exact. This is 26th place. Logan Sturgeon in the 26 car. This pack was originally led by Warren Kyle Keefe. There's a look at Aaron Adcock in the 23, following not too far behind, and I think this mindset is as obvious as you can name it, DJ. These drivers want to be away from the chaos. All they want to do is log laps in this first stage, get a feel for what this car is like in the draft, and then power through later. But they do not want to be in the mess if these drivers get a little too aggressive at this stage of the race, and it could junk a bunch of people together. They don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah, and especially as we see that sort of middle pack there from Bill Schoonover on back, they're looking a little bit jumbled up. The front of this field looking pretty good and pretty clean as they run, but that middle pack starting to look a little bit antsy, and so I think it's a good call there from Sturgeon and the rest of the field to just want to back off a little bit of it. They know the the stages in this race are going to bunch everybody back up, and that'll be a good run for them if something were to happen.
Of course, but then you get the trade-off. If you hang in the back, you probably won't get points of being in the top 10 when you get that green and white checkered flag or the green checkered flag once that stage is over at lap 30 and at lap 60. We'll see what they do for now, but at this point, they seem to be hanging back and they do not want to engage with the drivers up at the very front of the field. Here's a look on board with one of our own, Gary Sexton of Podium Esports, but a driver for Zero G in Season 6 of the Sunoco Cup Series, teammates with Dakota Curtis, Steven Stepien, and Mario Miranda. So safe to say, DJ, he's got a good amount of teammates up at the very front of the field, and Sexton just kind of hanging around in this second pack, getting around Bill Schoonover, and has some solid help by the 43 of Sean Kalis. And look at that, his teammate, 2 spots behind him in Dakota Curtis.
Yeah, they're going to start working together here, and watch as this race continues to develop, as it continues to play out at this point. You're going to see more and more of those teammates really start linking up together. They'll be talking to one another. They're all in their own separate Discord channels, so they're able to say exactly where they are, how they're running, things like that, to be able to keep everything together.
And teammates, very important to a race style like this here at Atlanta. It's a little harder to get clutched up together just because of the lack of space and just how narrow this track is. But at the super speedways, we constantly harp on the fact that you do need help to get around a track like this. You do need help if you want to have a chance at winning. And more often than not, you would find your teammates as that support system. For right now, we're not seeing too much of it, but we're seeing a glimpse with Joe Sanchez and Lawson Peel working together fluently on the inside, but Austin Reedy and the number 31 of Colin Forcer not having any of it. Both of them also teammates for Fast Banana Racing. They're going to hold out the front at lap 17.
They're going to be able to hold it out here as we continue to see things just trading around a little bit out the front. Hearing some reports that these cars are bottoming out quite a bit. I'm not entirely surprised by that with the speeds that they're getting around here. But Forster, and looks like he's going to have a pretty good run. Want to give some credit here to Joe Sanchez. He's one of our big movers up at the front of the field right now, up 7 positions. Parker Bland also up 7. Although Steven Stepien, he is our big mover in this opening pack. He is up 14 from the drop of the green flag.
The driver of the 81 has been fast and has been progressing very quickly. He wants a bit of that stage point action. He currently rides at the last spot in the top 10, so he should get points if he stays where he's at, but he's in that tussle with Kevin Hurley in the 25. What I am noticing as well, DJ, like you pointed out, very good report, and our producer also mentioned it, the cars that are bottoming out here at this track in the middle of the corners. I'm also noticing drivers are slowing down. They're letting off the throttle. They do not want to slide up the track in the middle of the corner, get into a driver, and cause a crash. A big concern that you have to carry here at Atlanta that you probably won't if you're at Daytona or Talladega.
No, not at all, and that's because of the narrowness of this Atlanta Motor Speedway. As we take a look on board there, you can see the big checkup coming behind. You don't want to give a big bump to a car going into the corner like that. You want to instead just back it off a little bit, keep everything together, and you really got to watch out for that drifting up the track, as you talked about. It's just a result of the narrowness of the corners here. Remember, it's a different radius than Dega and Daytona. We're talking about 2.5 miles there. Take an entire mile off that. These corners are a lot tighter, even though they're that much more steeply banked.
There's a look at the whole field going by, at least for the first pack. There's everybody in that second pack, which should not play a factor for stage points if we do not get a caution here in the next 9 laps or so. We'll cross the line on lap number 22. We get into the final 8 or so laps of stage number 1. We'll throw the yellow at the end of lap 30, or I believe the start of lap 30. Either one of those, race control will throw the yellow, and then we'll have the whole field back together. We should expect some pit stops as well, but it seems to be full control on the outside lane. Colin Forrester, who led this race at the drop of the green, not looking back. His teammate Austin Reedy giving support, and then just stagnating at the bottom. The 55 of Sanchez, the 12 of Lawson Peel, and just showing you, DJ, that progress is pretty hard at Atlanta with how narrow it is and just the way it races with the amount of grip that you have at any single lane at this track. It's tough to make passes. It's tough to be a controlling lane because every time you get a bit of an advantage, you'll get reeled back in. It's so hard to pull away.
Yeah, it certainly is. And the one sort of constant that we've seen here early on is that the high lane seems to be a little bit preferred, particularly coming down the back straightaway. But if they're able to link up together and play it right, then the low lane can make a little bit of a play. Reedy and Peel doing a good job, Sanchez and Peel doing a good job of keeping everything together and keeping that low lane right in the midst of the conversation.
Still at 31, and he's going to nose ahead at the entrance of turn 3, and pretty much no movement out of the drivers in the mid-pack. We'll keep an eye on everybody. What appears to be 24th on back with Logan Sturgeon, Aaron Adcock and company. They're still pretty much all running single file. One of the side-by-side battles there has just simmered out with Justin Miller getting single file with the 24 of Warren Kyle Keith. A beautiful shot off of Colin Forrester's number 31. And in this car, the driver of the 31, Colin Forrester, I've seen him in some other leagues, but DJ, he's bearing the rookie stripes on the back end of his Chevrolet Camaro. I think this is really the first time we see him in this Sunoco Cup Series, at least as far as I'm concerned, and he's really putting on a great performance. I know that he races with Austin Reedy in some other leagues, both of them having some pretty good chemistry on behalf of that Fast Banana Racing camp, and it's nice to see them both working together so fluently at this stage of the race.
Yeah, and that really comes from just running around each other so much. You start to learn each driver's eccentricities, what they like, what they don't like, how they're going to handle corners, how they're going to handle some of the adversity of bottoming out through the corner. You're really able to pick that up. And even though Forrester may have those rookie stripes on here, he is no rookie when it comes to running these Cup cars. He knows exactly what he's doing. It's a little bit, oh, is that?
Looks blown up.
Yeah, that's the 12. That's Lawson Peel. That's your reigning champion.
Lawson Peel, smoke billowing out of the rear end of his Camaro. He pulls it off to the apron, lets the whole field by, but that is huge implications for Lawson Peel. His race might just be completely over here from Atlanta. The caution will not wave. We'll enter the final 3 laps of stage 1, but it's a factor, DJ, that we have not mentioned all race long. Overheating. You push a car in front of you too much, you don't get fresh air on the radiator, your temp's gonna get hot, your car's gonna blow up if you don't be careful with it. And that 12 overstepped, and his car blown up as he brings it to pit road.
Yeah, and look at what's happened as a result of all of that. That low lane is absolutely decimated as those drivers tried to get out of the way. It's just the 99 and the 51 left down on that low line. They're trying to hook themselves back up, but it looks like here with 2 laps to go across the stripe that it's that high lane in control.
And Sanchez had to take evasive action. He jumped up to the top, found some space as they were all backing away from each other. So somehow he does not lose significant track position, but he's going to be at the top. Miranda's also going to shuffle in there, bringing Zach Wilson as the leader down low. Going to get some new drivers up at the front of the inside. And this time it will be the number 5 of Ross Harlow. Help from Curtis Kelly in the 71.
Oh, he thought about giving him a little bit of help, but he's now going to move to his outside there and just continue going around. And we've got a yellow as the caution flies here for the stage break.
Stage break, lap 30. And that is huge for Lawson Peel, who looked to be in prime position to gain some valuable stage points. And it looks like his race might just be over. Fortunately, he did bring it back to pit road, so he did not have to spend some extra time towing his Camaro. But DJ, that is big, and that should serve as a warning for everyone else. You get a little too not careful behind a race car, your car could easily shoot up in temps, and that engine can go bye-bye. And for Lawson Peel, it seems like that's the case. Colin Forster, though, wins stage number 1. A very good start for your pole sitter.
Now, very good start there for Colin. A couple of good movers and shakers up through the field against Stympian, up 15 spots. Looks like our very own Gary Sexton up 16 here at this point. So good runs there for them, but Forster maintaining up to the top of the charts, exactly what he needs to do here at this point.
And this is going to be pretty good here for both of the Fast Banana machines, in the case that if they do come out of pit road 1-2 like they come in right now, should give them an opportunity to control both lanes on the restart, and that's going to be big and just going to add on to the efficiency of this team. Obviously, they will want to have more of their own Fast Banana cars up at the front, but with what they've got, they've made it work. So the 31 and the 96 going to come in for pit road. Everybody coming in as well. There's the 12 parked in on the pit lane, and maybe we'll see him later in this race. Maybe we will not, because it is absolutely tough, the scenario that he's had to deal with. Leaders will get the jacks up on the left and right sides. Should get some fuel as well. We'll see what the race looks like off pit road.
All right, here they go. It looks like Forster's barely going to be able to have that ahead. Austin Reedy going to be behind them. Then Roswell Harlow. Here they go, coming out of the pits.
Nice race off pit road, but it is the 31 of Colin Forster. Led this race from P1. He's P1 at the stage break. He'll be P1 when we get the next restart. We'll continue our coverage of the Sunoco UltraTech 200 for Season 6 of the Sunoco Cup Series. Don't go anywhere. More on the other side from Podium Esports.
Hi guys, today me and Moose welcome to my extremely formal presentation of my 2 latest creations, the MPI Sync Chassis and the MPI Foldable Stand. When I created the MPI chassis, I wanted to have everything included, what it means. So in the MPI chassis, I wanted to have everything you need besides the electronics. So it has the keyboard tray, mouse tray, adjustability, TV stand, computer stand, super stiff pedal assembly, a seat that if you want, if you don't have a lot of space, you can fold it. If you have limited space, I solved your problem. The MPI will stand, you can use any component you want on it, and at night, fold in half, very limited space, and you can put it away. You can use your own chair, your own TV, problem solved.
Fuller,
Yeah,
needed F-150 for Smith build.
got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
.32 laps complete for the Sunoco UltraTech 200 for the season opener of the Sunoco Cup Series right here on Podium Esports. Kenneth Bueno and DJ Clark bringing the action, with Brian Bauer pushing all the buttons. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. We're ready for a restart off of stage number 1. Colin Forster and Austin Reedy here to lead us to green. Ross Harlow and Joe Sanchez third and fourth. when we get to the restart. And it'll be Curtis Kelly in the 71 for Fast Banana Racing, the driver to round out your current top 5. A bit of drama for your defending series champion. Lawson Peel had the engine blow up and expire in the middle of the stage. We'll see what he can do to get back out on track, but for right now, green flag back in the air, restart lap number 34. A good start by the top 4 cars on the inside lane. They're going to make it 5 with the 99 of Mario Miranda. And it looks like Joe Sanchez, DJ, left for dead. That outside struggling to pick the pace up back to turn 3.
Yeah, just not really able to get any friends up on that high side, and he's going to be falling well down through the order, but an absolutely brilliant getaway here from Forrester and Reedy. A little bit of that teammate cooperation that we talked about. Now we're going to see a little bit of a poke to the outside there, as now looks like the 5 of Harlow is going to jump up onto the high lane as well, and that's going to be Miranda and I believe Wilson giving him a little bit of a push.
We saw the 5 of Ross Harlow man the inside lane as soon as Peel's engine blew up, and as soon as Joe Sanchez merged up to the top this time, he looks to man the inside again, but with absolutely no help. Steven Steppien's going to try and give him some at the exit of turn 4. That's going to check everybody up at the bottom. It'll bring the momentum towards the top side. Now here comes Zach Wilson with a charge inside. He'll look for 3rd.
He's going to be trying to make a little bit of a play there down to the inside on that number 51 machine, trying to get some help here from Roswell Harlow. As they go, he's going to get a nice little bit of a bump, but it's going to take a little bit longer to get the momentum working on that bottom lane, I think.
They have a bunch of cars down there. Strength in numbers is to their favor as it stands, but looks like that outside just way too strong off of the 28 degrees of banking. Here as they enter turn 1, here's a look on board with Stepien. The 5 pushing the 51, and it'll get a big run in the bottom of the corner, so they'll get to 3rd or 2nd. We'll see just how responsive that outside lane is. And one thing that we'll also touch on in these super speedways and here at Atlanta DJ, again, the big runs you can develop off the back end of somebody in this next-gen car that proposes a lot of checkups on both lanes, and even then more significant checkups than what we've seen in previous generations of NASCAR Cup cars. You have to be very vigilant of what you do behind the wheel in the middle of the draft when you get those runs, and obviously the blocks. You have to be smart with them as well, because those big runs can mean to big pushes, and those big pushes can lead to big crashes.
Yeah, if you don't get these cars absolutely hooked up, and I mean perfectly hooked up, you could very easily find yourself getting spun right around, having a big problem coming out to play. But I'll tell you what, Zach Wilson down on that low side, not looking like he's having any of those problems here, as both he and Roswell Harlow starting to work together pretty well, and they're going to be up challenging for the lead.
And finally, it took a couple of laps off the restart, but that inside lane is finally back, and they are challenging the 31. Here's a look on board with the 51 at Wilson, and they'll check up as Stepien gives a shove to Harlow, who then gives a shove to Wilson into turn 3. And the 51 will have control of this race. Wilson started in 11th, now to the point as we cross the stripe.
He was going to be leading there by just a moment, but it looks like Forrester is going to be able to hold that out for the time being as they continue to work their way down through 1 and 2. Whoa, look at that slip and slide there for Zach Wilson, flirting with the apron down the inside.
You have to be really careful. Once you grab that transition, it can be way easier to get that car pivoted sideways. And even then some, you look at this track, and even on this aerial shot, if you compare it to a shot from the 2008 scan of this track on the iRacing service, and even just the real-life old Atlanta, you'll see that this track and this configuration way narrower. They upped the banking, but DJ, they lowered the amount of space that you would have from the outside wall to the inside lane. So it is not as, I guess, usual, as you could say, if you were, let's say, running the old version of this Atlanta Motor Speedway. So it's a lot of kinks you got to get used to, one of them being less lanes and one of them being that apron too.
Yeah, very much so. It really does create an utterly unique circuit to run around here at this point. It really does throw up a lot of challenges for these drivers that they have to contend with. They've got it simultaneously to try to give each other space while navigating their way around this very, very narrow circuit when it comes to super speedway style racing. As they continue to go, it looks like it's a straight two-way fight here between Forrester and Wilson. Reedy looking like he was going to be able to get a little bit of a run there, but they're going to stay in double file order here, working their way through 3 and 4.
It will stay door to door for the lead at the exit of turn 4. Remember, our next stage break coming at lap number 60, so we should expect that in the next 18 or so laps. Here from Atlanta, we went that first stage completely green. Apart from the problem with Lawson Peel, there were no problems on track, no contact, no crashes. It seems to be clean this time by. A good look at the field, blurring by on the back straightaway, still at around 175, 180 miles an hour. And Wilson, Colin Forrester, still side by side for the lead, but a little more bunched up this field is, I think, back to P30. I think the entire field, DJ, all within at least 2.5 seconds. And the last car in line, the 7 of Chris Progar. So really good news is that off of the first restart in stage 1, a lot more separation to the back of the pack. I think drivers are more comfortable this time around. A lot of them want to be up front in this second stage.
Yeah, I think that they get the sense here out of these drivers that they're not throwing a lot of crazy moves and they don't need to worry about necessarily a big one firing off here that early. Drivers are being very, very conceited in the way that they take their opportunities. They're not making a lot of, let's call them harebrained maneuvers where they're trying to jumble this way and that all the time. They're keeping things together. They're keeping it calm, cool, and collected. And even here, as we look at Wilson, Harlow, and Stympian up at the front of the field, we're not even seeing them jump off to try to cover off Forster and Reedy. Everybody's pretty content to stay where they are.
I mean, they also understand just how far that top side has fallen off. It is now reduced to about 3 or 4 cars. That 4th car in line not even linked up with the top 3 up there near the front. That's the 18 of Parker Bland and that M&M's Toyota Camry. But up at the front of the top side, 71 of Curtis Kelly, the 96 of Austin Reedy, and then your pole sitter, the 31 of Colin Forrester. So everybody, and I mean everybody almost, wants to be at the bottom. Looks like Ross Harlow might have flirted with the top just a bit, along with Steven Stympian, but they'll both hug that red and white inside lane with that 51, and this is tough for the Fast Banana crew. All 3 of them hooked up, and while this is good teammate work, they've got nobody else. As Miranda gets loose in turn 1.
Oh, how did Miranda hold on to that car? That thing was all kinds of sideways. You saw the smoke getting kicked up there, and somehow he managed to save the number 99.
Had a bit of contact on the rear end in the first big scare in the middle of the field. The 99 of Miranda almost about turned that car completely sideways in turn 1. Keeps the car straight, and a good job by Jesse Whittington to back off before anything got worse. Miranda lives to see another lap, but that has absolutely broken up the top 8 or so.
Yeah, it certainly has. It's going to separate everybody out here just a little bit as they continue to work their way out of the corner. Riding on board with Miranda right now, looking behind Kevin Hurley as they dive down into the corner. We're still seeing those Fast Banana teammates working up on the high side, and now they've got a little bit of company. They're going to maybe make things run a little bit better here.
They'll hook up Parker Bland. They'll probably get the 30 of Wyatt Brackett, who, apart from the 18 of Bland, who's not a part of Fast Banana Racing, that 30 is. So he would complete a 4-car grouping up at the top of the track for the same team. And Bland in the middle of that, look at the 96, absolutely sliding at the exit of turn 2 and almost lost control of his Camaro. But I think this might just be, DJ, the first look at real teamwork. We saw 2 cars of DBR, 2 cars of Fast Banana working together. Now we've got pretty much the entire field up at the top of the racetrack, and then at the bottom it is just an absolute wide mix of talent and teams.
Yeah, it certainly is. And so we'll have to see if this teamwork is able to really respond here at this point and continue to get themselves going around. And we'll see if they're able to fight back. It doesn't quite look like it here at this point, as right now Hurley able to be clear of them as they come down into the corner. They're not really going to be able to slip down onto that low line. It just doesn't look like there's any opportunity. Got to be a little bit careful there. Reedy looked like he almost gave a little bit of a bad bump to Colin Forrester, but he was able to keep everything together coming off of turn 4.
So far, everything looking clean as we enter the final 10 or so laps before the end of stage 2. Kind of a blur. You don't see a lot of strategy. You only have 30 laps. You're going 100% full throttle, and these cars can go well more than 30 laps on a stint of fuel. So we'll probably see the entire field come down for what's going to be a more strategic second stage, or rather third stage, as I think further back in the top 10 or so, I saw Wyatt Brackett almost got the rear end of Parker Bland going into the first corner. That could have been absolutely disastrous, but so far that outside has control. Here's a look at the second pack led by Warren Kyle Keith in the 24.
Yeah, and again, doing what we saw them do a little bit earlier on. They're all sticking in single file order together, not running that too wide action across the track, and I think that's a good play for them. They do not want to be running like that. They do not want to be running like they are at the front of the field, but look at that fan out coming across the line.
Looks like, for the moment, Ross Harlow stays with the lead. Now here's Kevin Hurley on the inside, help from Zach Wilson, so the 25 might have a chance at the race lead for the first time all race long. And it looks like it will go the 25's way to the lead. Kevin Hurley at a turn 4 for Spirit of Daytona Racing.
A great run there for him as they now try to fight up at the front of the field, trying to work their way around and on through. Close battling here as we close in on the end of the stage.
We'll see what they can do. Remember, Colin Forster and company had absolutely dominated that first stage here at Atlanta, but it looked like a very different look in this second stage. We'll approach the final 5 or so laps. Here's a look off the rear end of Kevin Hurley's machine. Zach Wilson not too far behind. Mario Miranda settling in 3rd. And then Ross Harlow, Steven Stempien trying all that they can to keep that outside lane contentious. Ross Harlow ditches the top, leaving Stempien all by his lonesome. And then your pole sitter behind and the fast banana group to follow. They are trying to decide all over this place, and they can't quite decide officially where they want to be. It's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, it certainly is. It'll look like Harlow there just had the perfect opportunity to duck that number 81 down low and get himself into a good position there. So I like that move for him as now we come up a little bit of a bump. And again, these drivers really starting to get aggressive, and there it is.
The 94, caution is out. Austin Reed's around. Garrett Brown into it. Wyatt Brackett stacks up the outside wall. It's a big stack up and a big wreck to bring our first caution prior to the end of stage 2. And it started with, I think, the move from Zach Wilson to go for the lead. Then Miranda moving up the track, checking up the top. Forrester went for the middle. Got a push by the 96 of Austin Reedy and creates mayhem in turn 1.
Oh my goodness gracious. We talked about the big one maybe firing off, and there it was. Let's take a look at this replay. Absolute carnage here, Kenneth.
And we'll watch out at turn 4. There's Zach Wilson going for the lead, but the focus on this outside lane. You watch Mario Miranda, that green and black car. He comes up late, blocks the 81, stacks up the top. Forster tries to go to the middle to escape, hopping on the brakes, and then Reedy gives him just the wrong push at the wrong time, angled it to where the 31 got pushed down the track into the 94 of Jesse Whittington. And then Whittington gets Stempien in it, and then there are more cars who are just trying to slow down and just end up a part of the crash. It's a main 4-car instance. There's the look, DJ, at the run for the lead on the left side of your screen, but look at this stack up as Miranda comes up to block.
Yeah, comes up to block there, and that's really what set it all off, getting the big check up through the field. Everybody's sort of drifting up the track a little bit, and then you have that one car that came down a little bit low, and that's really what caused it there. And I've got to say here, very lucky for a lot of these drivers farther back down in the pack who were able to slow down, see it coming, and get out of the way.
And also adding on to the carnage, Aaron Adcock hit the 16 of Garrett Brown as Brown tried to go down the track to avoid the incident. And catches Dan Parker Bland, Joe Sanchez. There's also got a piece of damage. It looks like Dakota Curtis. And that is roughly half of the field involved. And remember, these drivers do not have fast repairs here in this series and in this race. So all that time they have to spend on pit road. There's the entire field. And I think, based on race control, we might just have the stage officially end. And just because of this caution and how long it's going to take, it looks like Jesse Whittington, really the only driver to stay out. Everybody else going to come in.
Yeah, I think Jesse hoping to pick up some of those stage points here at this point, trying to be able to do that as they work their way around right now. There's a look out the back. The rest of the field who's able to form up behind him. Wilson, Hurley, Miranda, Harlow, Shoemaker, all of them. I also want to give some credit here to Zach Kunkel, who is up 20 positions, as is Gary Sexton. So some big movers. Also, I think our biggest mover here in the field, Chuck Feltz up 23, Austin Shoemaker up 21.
And remember, Chuck Feltz started deep in this field, all the way in the last spot, P43. So great move up to the field for Feltz, and we'll see what he can do into this last stage. as we'll watch it and see what the entire field does, and we'll get things sorted out. It looks like Zach Wilson will have the lead. It appears as though Whittington has taken his Chevrolet Camaro into the pit lane. Indeed he has, so he'll lift up the jacks. He'll get in for service, and so Zach Wilson will have control of this race. Kevin Hurley will be on the outside in row number 1. Mario Miranda and Ross Harlow able to survive the scuffles, and they end up 3rd and 4th. It looks like Chris Shoemaker will round out your top 5, and I believe here off of race control, I think this is officially the stage break, so we will have a pretty clean jump from lap number 60 up to the final 70 laps to 130. So I guess this strategy technically counting as a stage in, and Wilson, who took the lead not too long ago, will have control of the field. A good start for him.
Yeah, he'll be in good position there to try to take some good advantage. That number 51, we've seen some good speed out of it thus far, that red and white machine. We'll have to see how he's able to play it here at this point.
So we'll bunch the field together. This will be the long stage here in the Sunoco UltraTech 200. We go 70 laps, which obviously should open things up for some fuel strategy. We went the first 2 stages without having to worry about getting a splash of fuel in the middle of the run, just waiting for the yellow to come out. Well, now we'll see how things change and who's able to get to the front, possibly get themselves a checkered flag for the first time in Season 6. Pace cars down into the restart zone, the 51 up and away, and we're back under green in the Sunoco UltraTech 200. Look at the big run that both Zach Wilson and Mario Miranda got on the entire field to the restart zone. They have a big gap back to Curtis Kelly. Chris Shoemaker in the 4 jumps up top to slide in front of the 25, the driver who started 19th, inside the top 5 as Kelly tries to catch up to Miranda, and the top 2 not in trouble, back to the stripe.
No, not at all. It's that low lane, and the only low lane there that seems to be working out. And don't look now, but who is that in 4th place leading the high lane? That is our very own Gary Sexton putting on some moves.
It is fun watching the 13 up at the front. The 71 and the 99, Miranda and Kelly, are going to work up to split the 51 of Wilson. Miranda to the lead. Sexton to 3rd on the top side out of turn 4.
All right, here they go. Sexton, be careful not to give a push there to the 71 of Curtis Kelly. Now he's going to dive back down to the low lane to lead that. Here they go around. Whoa, a little bit of flirting around with that apron there. You've got to be careful with that, even on fresh tires, as we've got a car up into the wall.
Car on the wall, caution is out. And that appears to be the 14 of Austin Shoemaker, that Celsius Ford Mustang. The problem there in the middle of 1 and 2, not sure whether he had help or what might have happened, but we'll see. And it was actually just a big stack up on the inside. It started around where Joseph Mohar was in the 46, gets into the 17 of Chris Progar, and then he comes up the track into the 14, a huge slam. The 23 of Aaron Adcock getting a piece of it, the 22 of Miller. There's a look at Mohar getting pushed out of line, and that's a big hit to the outside wall. Not what you wanted to have happened at this stage of the race.
No, not at all, and I'm not entirely sure what caused that. Let's take another look here. That may have been a little bit of a bad bump from behind that caused him to get out of line, but one way or another, you could see the damage that that entailed.
And it was just a stack up, a check up on the inside lane where the 17 slowed down a little bit. Mohar tried to react, but unfortunately it happened way too fast to properly react. And then the 47 of Isaac Mock had no other choice, got into the back end, and obviously unintentional that entire sequence. But Mohar in the 46 tried to pick that race car up and just hit a poor transition on the bottom of the apron, which unsettled that car, reverted it back to the top of the banking, and then into the 14. It was just an innocent bystander, and the same goes for the 23 and the 22. Both of them were trying to slow down for the incident, and unfortunately get a bit of front-end damage as a result. So our second caution officially here from Atlanta Motor Speedway, or rather our third caution rather. It was our first for stage number 1, then stage number 2. This is our third overall, but our first for incident on track, if you're not counting that second stage conclusion. And it looks like that is going to be tough break for the 14, and I think it goes back, DJ, to the pressure for these drivers to put on a good race and to finish well or even win in race number 1 when we've got a limited schedule. It looks like for the 14, for the 46 and company, I think their races might just be behind the 8 ball from here on out.
Yeah, I certainly think so, and especially with those no free repairs, they're going to find themselves either down pit lane for an incredibly long period of time, or they are just going to find themselves out of this race at this point, and so certainly behind the 8 ball here early on.
So caution out again, Mario Miranda at the front of the field, but we saw some aggressive racing. Gary Sexton looked to the bottom, Zach Wilson playing in this game as well. Bunch of drivers in this mix, and it's going to be an exciting restart when we get back to it. I want to thank SK Sim Racing for all of their unwavering support of this Sunoco Cup Series. They've been a part of this series for a while. They even have a sponsored team, SK Sim Racing, with Sean Kalis, Joseph Mohar, and Judd Danielson in his machine. So gotta thank sksimracing.com for all of their support. They'll be on board for the entire Season 6 running of the Sunoco Cup Series. So proud to have them as a partner of the series and a partner with us on Podium Esports. So ready for the restart, and this is going to be interesting here, DJ, because the 99 of Mario Miranda is choosing the top. He's not going to go for the bottom. He's going to give Sexton the inside, but he wants to hook up with Chris Shoemaker when we get back to green.
Yeah, and that's going to set up some interesting running here. I mean, we haven't seen a definitive answer on whether or not the hind lane or the low lane is truly the dominant force around here, and so we'll have to see just what this plays itself out to do. Sexton may be able to get a little bit of a good jump, but then again, with Shoemaker pushing behind, we could see that 99 jump out to a good advantage. This is all going to be a little bit of a roll of the dice, I think.
It definitely will, and with the aggression that we've seen Sexton put out over the past couple of laps, most notably off that recent restart, it's going to be quite exciting to see what our very own Podium Esports can do. When we get back to green, the 51 will assist him on the bottom, the 4 will assist Miranda on the top, so 2 Ford Mustangs in row number 1, row number 2 on the outside, a Mustang and a Camry on the inside of row number 1 and row number 2. Pace car will make its way to the inside of the apron. We'll head for pit road, and it will be the 99 and Mario Miranda's discretion. When we get to the restart zone, a late jump by Miranda, but we are back under green from Atlanta. And look at the jump by Miranda, not good enough in terms of help. He drops back, he'll be third on the inside lane. Sexton to the lead at the exit of turn 2.
Oh, and a little bit of a squiggly bump there from Zach Wilson behind him, just trying to hook up on the back of that number 13, but Sexton able to keep it pointed the right way, so that'll be good running there for him as now they get going. Looks like the 26 there, Logan Sturgeon, going to be the car that's trying to make that high lane work, but again, Wilson looking very squirrely off the bump.
And almost contact. Wilson tried to side draft Sexton, looked for the top side, wanted to battle for the lead on the front straightaway, but instead he got moved out of the way, avoided contact, so escapes calamity, but now has to pick up Sturgeon and drops back 4, 5, almost 6 spots on the racetrack in one fell swoop. Sexton stays up at the front. It looks like 4 or 5 cars single file on the inside, and Wilson trying to pick his way back to the field, now inside 5th.
Yeah, and look at that run down from the low lane there. They've got a huge amount of advantage. It's going to take an almighty effort here for this high lane to be able to get itself re-racked and ready to go back and fight with this. That is not going to be easy for them to do.
But look at the caliber of drivers we're seeing in this top 10. A good bulk of them, DJ, started 20th or worse in this race. Remember Logan Sturgeon in the 26, that second car on the outside, and that blue and white Chevy Camaro. He was leading the second pack in 26 earlier in this race in about the first stage after starting 28. He's now up inside the top 10. You look at Chris Progar in the 7 machine. He started back in 42nd, second to last in this race, and now look at him with a possibility to challenge for the handful of lead positions. There are so many drivers who have made the progressions to the first 2 stages, and now they want to attack. They're making their case known as Sturgeon drops to the bottom and P5.
Yeah, again, that low lane, just the way to be here off of this latest restart. We are over the halfway point here at Atlanta as they continue to work their way around. Sexton leading Miranda, leading easily, leading Wilson, leading Sturgeon down on that low lane. Progar, the first driver up on the high lane, desperately trying to make that work. Looks like the number 8 there of Kip Easley's going to jump up to the high lane, but he is going to be passed like he is standing still.
It looked like he moved up top and just let the entire field by. I'm not sure whether he wanted out of the run for the top 3 or so, or whether he was looking for somebody to assist him up there to challenge for first, but unfortunately could not find that. Picks up the 3 of James Kunkel, and thus much like we saw Zach Wilson do when he went up top on Gary Sexton, it looks like he's going to drop back to around 5th or 6th on the racetrack. Now Wilson fills the space. Miranda drops back on the top, so the 99 left for Dust. Once again, Easley will pick him up, but Sexton still in control, and this is just showing the aggression. TJ off of the 51. He wants the lead. He will do anything possible to get back up there.
Yeah, he certainly will, and I wonder if some of these drivers that are popping out of line there are maybe trying to avoid a little bit of what we saw out of Peel earlier on. Maybe they're trying to get up into some clean air, get some cool air into that radiator and prevent that car blowing up. The track temperature here has continued to rise. It's 119 degrees Fahrenheit out on track, 79 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, so they're going to have to be worried about that with as close as they're all running here up in the front.
Looking at the in-sim time, about to run through 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We also do want to let you know that there are currently 38 cars on the lead lap. The last one will be the 96 of Austin Reedy, who has had his entire race a shift in the opposite direction. Remember, he was up front, aggressive with his teammate in the number 31 of Colin Forster. Now he's lost that 31's assistance. Forster, I think, is completely out of this race, and Reedy now just logging in laps and hoping for a saving grace as that inside continues to man the charge. Up at the front of the field, Miranda trying to respond, and as good as P6 can go, but he cannot get farther than that. And this is an interesting scenario that we're seeing, TJ, in the fact that we saw how good the top lane was. They could get in front by roughly 4 or 5 cars. It's shifting to the inside lane, so I'm not sure whether this is the case of the drivers in the middle of the draft or just the way the track has changed over the time that we've put rubber on it. I'm not entirely sure, but we've seen it go from top heavy to inside heavy in a matter of 2 or so stages.
Yeah, we really have, and I frankly think here, Kenneth, it's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. We haven't seen a lot of bumping. We haven't seen a lot of good teamwork up on the high side, really linking up together. And I also think as rubber continues to get put down on that bottom lane, it just grips up. It gets a little bit grippier. It continues to really push its way around. And so we're seeing just that combination of things really working out here for these drivers in that low lane, absolutely carrying dominance.
And remember, we are expecting some possible pit stops if we stay green or not. We do go a 70-lap stage. We are not expecting the entire field to make it all the way on field. When they last pitted near the end of stage number 2, I'd say around lap number 58, 59, as there's Lawson Peel in the 12. Back on the racetrack, 48 laps down in P43, but obviously any amount of things he can get near the end of this race is what he's going to want, given the situation he was put in where his engine expired in stage number 1. So the 12 rejoins back in track in turn 1. Here's a look on board with Kip Easley riding in 7th right now, and Easley has gained some spots. It has not been the easiest route for him, but Easley, after starting in P20 on the racetrack, has certainly made good things of this race from Atlanta this evening.
But yeah, he certainly has, making up good progress here at this point to just keep himself pointed the right way. Little bit of a fan out here as we've got a run up on the high side. A couple of drivers opting to try to make that work. It looks like that's going to be the 99 of Mario Miranda, and that is the pole land there that the 8 of Easley needs, and now we may have a battle up for the top lane.
And look at Zach Wilson and Gary Sexton. They took notice. They're getting some of the draft with the 99 and the 8, but will they stay up there? For now, it's going to be no. They'll try and pick up Logan Sturgeon out of turn 4. Sexton's going to go up top. Could this be the run for Miranda? It will be. Good enough for second. Can it be good for the lead in turn 1?
He's going to get a little bit of a bump there off of Kip Easley as they come down into turn 1 right now. Not clearly enough to get his way on by completely, but he's at least going to be ahead, and by the time they get on the backstretch, he's got the lead.
He's got the point. Easily getting awfully close to the 51 at the entrance of 3, almost making contact. And it's stifling out, at least in terms of the help on the very top. They've got a lot of cars up there, but some of them not as committed as your top 2. Miranda aggressive at the front. He's got the lead heading into turn 1. Sexton and him almost make contact in the middle of the corner, but we are dead even again for the top spot. 2 Ford Mustangs leading the way.
And that is just classic super speedway gamesmanship there out of Mario Miranda, trying to get a little bit of the side draft off of Gary Sexton, pinch him down on the line a little bit so he's not able to wash up the track and carry as much momentum as he'd like. And then look at that, coming out of the corner, just absolutely like a shot out of a gun there for Mario Miranda, and he's going to lead at the stripe.
This is good news for Kip Easley and James Kunkel, the two teammates at Nitro Motorsports. They are affiliates with Prestige Worldwide Racing, which adds more context to why the 4 of Chris Shoemaker is up at the top giving them assistance. Here comes Easley, switch over to the bottom for the lead in turn 3.
Yeah, he is absolutely digging here, as our director Ryan Power said in our ear not too long ago. He wants this lead of the race. He's going to try to get it here at this point. Sexton's got to try to pull up behind him a little bit. He's not going to be able to give him a bump going down into the corner, but they're still going to be perfectly parallel coming down through 1 and 2.
And we're looking at this long stage, 70 laps, and we pretty much got almost all of it when we got the green flag at around lap 60 to 61. Are you expecting, DJ, these drivers being as aggressive as possible to lead this race just because they want to, or is this a proper setup for what might be a strategic call near the end of this race?
I think it's a strategic call for the end of this race. You want to be up front here. It is very hard to try to get on by. Track position is king. And now that we are over the halfway point in this race, I think more and more drivers want to be up in the pointy end of this field to really give them a shot to be able to win this race.
So far, it is weighing in the favor of Mario Miranda and Kip Easley, who continue to stay up at the front. We're also looking at the drivers further back in the field, and the last one in this group is 33rd place Casey Knighton. There's somewhat of a second pack developed with Joseph Mahar, Alex Muscarella, Wyatt Brackett, and Austin Reading. 4 cars back to 37, and they seem to be the last cars on the lead lap. Parker Bland is the first one lap down or more. It appears everybody 40th on back. Other than Colin Forster and Lawson Peel, who have since rejoined this race, they are out of the festivities. Steven Stepien, Austin Shoemaker are considered done right now. Behind the wall and in the garage, it looks like they'll have to look for Circuit of the Americas next Sunday night. They want a shot at winning a first race in Season 6. Cross of the stripe, Mario Miranda, your leader, pushed by James Kunkel. And then the Nitro Motorsports teammate of that 3 machine, the 8 of Kip Easley, trying all that he can to nose that ahead with Gary Sexton to support. We are entering at least what's going to be the final 45 laps here from Atlanta, Georgia.
Final 45 laps to go here, and based off of our calculations, I don't think they're going to be able to make it to the end here. They are not going to be able to make it to the end, so they are probably going to have to come down into pit lane one more time, get a fresh set of Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel on those machines. That is going to be the way to go, and I think the way that we're going to notice that firing off, if we do have green flag stops here, Kenneth, is a mad scramble down to that low line.
That is true, and what's going to be even more difficult is the entrance of pit road. We know the old configuration of Atlanta, but with the bumpiness and the brashness of that surface, how tough it is to slow the car down and get a nice entrance onto the pit lane at pit road speed limit. But when you're in a super speedway nature scenario, and you're here at this track that's normally tough to get on a pit road, it is going to be more difficult probably to get down there with enough speed and with enough control to not spin that car out and not get anyone else involved. So we're going to see how that works. Remember, we have also seen these lead cars and everybody else go roughly 30 laps without having to come to pit road just because of the way our stages are structured. But DJ, we have not seen a full green flag run up until what looks to be right now. If we don't get a caution, these drivers are running it all the way dry for the most part, which means it's the first time they experience that, number one, and number two, the first time we're going to see how they react to it.
Yeah, exactly, and I think the biggest thing out of that is going to be tire wear. We don't know how these cars are exactly going to respond on that long run pace with tires, and so we're going to see some slipping and sliding. We may see another incident that brings its way out here at this point as they go, and so that's going to be a big concern here for these drivers as they continue to try to hook up with one another and bring themselves around and get as much pressure forward as they can. They're really going to have to hustle it around.
There's Gary Sexton. You saw him make a move about a lap ago at the exit of turn 2, decided to back out of helping Kip Easley. Now he wants the clean air and the lead for himself. So he'll coop up with the Ford Mustangs up at the top, the 99 of Mario Miranda. What looks to be the Chevy Camaro behind them of James Kunkel. Remember, Miranda and Sexton, both teammates at 0G. So, of course, A lot of chemistry between these two as Wilson almost gets into Miranda, sliding up a little too much entering turn 1.
Yeah, and that's just a little bit of what I was talking about there. As these tires continue to wear off, it's going to be harder and harder and harder to control these cars as they work their way through the corners. They're going to have to be very, very careful until they come in and get a fresh set of boots.
And you can see it. If you look at an aerial shot of the entire field, you'll notice how far that inside line slides up the track because those right fronts are streaming. You'll see it here. They go from the bottom, and they slowly work their way to the top. Chris Pogar gets sent sideways up into the outside wall, catches Ryan Kendall. We have our second big crash here from Atlanta Motor Speedway. One car, I think, almost went up and over. The 71 of Curtis Kelly parked to the inside of the apron, and caution is out again, and this should eliminate any concern of making it to the end inside 40 laps to go.
Yeah, it certainly should. They should be able to all come down into pit lane, but let's take a look at this incident. The 7 car just absolutely sideways there. Progar laying prone across the track, and nobody else able to really get around him.
And it looked like he checked up in the corner to make it, and it was Justin Urban, the 20, who couldn't slow down in enough time, caught that rear end. It was Warren Kyle Keith who got sideways, but really the damage is done when Progar comes up the track. And Orion Kendall, see Curtis Kelly getting put sideways, the 78. Looks like the 19 of Brad Fulham. You'll see it more. Here's a look from the 71 of Kelly as he gets involved.
Yeah, coming down into the corner there, you can see Progar lose it. Kelly tries to back out of it and just gets tapped from behind. It looks like really an unfortunate passenger there, and he was spun around on the racetrack with nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go, parks that car. I don't think any significant damage. That is good news for Kelly. I think most of the drivers in this crash escaped without any race-ending damage done to them. But there's another look at the 71. His perspective, just got tapped by the 85. That appears to be Judd Danielson, and then just gets sent around. I think fortunately nobody else gets into him, so it just adds on to the unscathed nature of that Chevy Camaro for Fast Banana Racing. So Kelly will live to see another day. Here's another look at it. This is a look from Danielson, slowing down, and unfortunately right there is when the 71 checks up, gets into the rear end, and sends him sideways, and then the more damage done to the likes of Ryan Kendall, and that's another big slam too.
Yeah, another big hit there, unfortunately. A bunch of big thunks there for those drivers. There's certainly going to be drivers that are going to be down into pit lane here, taking a little bit of a longer service, unfortunately, but it looks like Easley is going to be the one who is going to lead this field around to green. Zach Wilson behind him, then Sexton, Miranda, and Sturgeon, your top 5.
And the entire field going for probably what we expected to see, DJ. 4 fresh tires and fuel. That's one of the big differences that you have here at Atlanta that is different from Talladega and Daytona, and the fact where the bigger tracks, tires probably aren't necessarily that important. Here, though, when things are so confined, you're going to need that grip. And so for Zach Wilson, Kip Easley, Gary Sexton, Miranda, all these guys that came down, they're looking for 4 fresh tires, and now they're out. And now they've just got what's going to be under 40 laps left here to settle it in this Sunoco UltraTech 200. DJ, your thoughts? Because I know that we've seen some aggressive racing build up in the second stage. It's combined to a big crash here to bring us a break. These drivers probably can make it all the way on fuel, and now it's full guns blazing to the checker.
I frankly don't think, Kenneth, we are out of the woods when it comes to cautions here tonight. I think we're going to maybe see 1, maybe 2 more fire off before we see the checkered flag around this Atlanta Motor Speedway. As we get into that closer and closer point where we get to 130 laps, drivers are going to get more aggressive. They're going to get their elbows out a little bit more. They're going to know that points and positions are at the line, on the line, and they're going to start working for it.
Ready for the restart, lap number 95 of 130 here from Atlanta. Kip Easley, your race leader. Zach Wilson in second. Gary Sexton on the inside of row number 2 in third. Mario Miranda in fourth. And these 4 cars, as of late, have been the most aggressive, but they have also been the most efficient. Logan Sturgeon, after starting pretty deep in this field in 28th, he is now settled inside the top 5. Chris Shoemaker, the 3rd car on the outside lane in P6. James Kunkel in 7th. Warren Kyle Keith has resurged from 1 lap down earlier in this race to 8th. Isaac Mock back in 9th. And Justin Urban, the 20, the Home Depot Chevrolet. Last car to round out your top 10.
Well, here they come around again. I think we're going to see one lane be very, very strong here early on, Kenneth, but they're coming to the green.
Here they come. Kip Easley, Zach Wilson to the restart zone. Easley on the gas. We're back underway here from Atlanta. Inside the final 36 laps to go. And it looks like a tandem in each lane on the inside and the outside. Top four have broken away in turn one. And now here comes Sturgeon, here comes Shoemaker, here comes Warren Kyle Keith. The 24 bumps up to the top, but it is still more cars on the inside. Wilson hanging tough and easily with the lead out of turn 4.
Yeah, it looks like that lone line's a little bit more locked in together here at this point. We're seeing some drivers start to work their way up to the hind lane, try to make that a little bit of a good run here. And now they're going to start to build a little bit of that momentum. There we see the number 5 machine there, or the 51 machine rather, starting to use a little bit of that side draft to try to get the cars. And now we're going to go 3 wide.
3 wide for a moment. That's Zach Wilson looking underneath Gary Sexton for quite a second. Backs out. They remain side by side. The 13 looks to side draft. The 8, he'll have the nose ahead at the stripe. And this is going to get awfully contentious. Sexton still with the lead, easily to respond back to turn 1.
Back into turn 1. It doesn't quite look like here that the 51 of Wilson's going to be given that good of a bump. Now here it comes, a nice big bump to the back of Gary Sexton. That's going to give him a little bit of an advantage here, but now easily as it comes from the shortest distance from point A to point B, works his way through the corner, and he'll lead coming out of 4.
60% of this current top 10 started 20th or worse in this race. They will scatter on the quad. Will they check up on the inside? That was Kunkel right in front of Isaac Mock, and new race leader Gary Sexton controls the bottom on the back straightaway.
Good move there from Sexton. He recognized he had the advantage, moved on down to the low lane, didn't like it though. Now he's going to move back down to the low lane, and he's going to bring Wilson on with him.
Wilson looked for the bottom. Sexton shut the door on him. I think the 51 was looking for the race lead, and only that. He wiggles out of 4. Here's a look on board with the 0G number 13, and Wilson is not having any of it. He is pushing as hard as he possibly can. And that Team Watson Racing, number 51, might look for a challenge at the exit of 2. Can't quite do it. Shuffles to the bottom, shuffles to the top. Sexton almost sideways.
This is getting very, very squirrely here for Gary Sexton. He is going to have to hold on to this car to the best of his abilities. This is very much looking like it is not complying the way he wants it to here at this point, Kenneth.
And look at the herd of Chevrolets at the top, led by Logan Sturgeon. That's Warren, Kyle Keith, Justin Erb, Ross Harlow, Jesse Whittington, Chuck Feltz, all of them lining that outside lane, but they have yet to catch up to what looks to be 5th on the racetrack. There's a top 4 breakaway. Wilson wiggles to 13 and easily has to check up.
And that's what we're going to be seeing more as these drivers continue to get more and more aggressive here in the final runs as they get it. And we've got a yellow out on track.
Caution now, Jesse Whittington around, slammed by Aaron Adcock in turn 4. And Whittington, remember, was in that outside charge led by Logan Sturgeon. Found trouble with Dakota Curtis as he tried to go back to the bottom. And that brings out a caution with 29 laps to go. DJ, you're right. Cautions have not stopped. And there's the 94, unfortunately, limping his Chevrolet to the pit lane.
Yeah, let's take a look at exactly what happened here. Just a little bit of a bad bump there from the number 10 of Dakota Curtis, just slightly onto the side, and that was enough to be able to spin him and send him right around.
It just looked like a miscommunication there from Whittington. Let's look on board with the 94. There's Charles Phelps, who started dead last in this field and has done a nice job to move his way through. And the 94, you'll see here, there's the 10 of Dakota Curtis on the inside. Whittington finds some space, says, okay, I can probably take it. A little hesitant there, and then Curtis gets into him. And then a big hit to the wall, and there's Chuck Feltz on the 75, an innocent bystander, and then Aaron Adcock gets into him as the 94 slides down the track with the foot heavily on the brakes. And it's a 3 or 4 car incident. Caution is out. And the field behind the iRacing official pace car with 28 laps to go.
And remember here, if we continue to get these yellows that come out, we do have 3 green-white checker attempts on the day, so 3 opportunities for these cars to be able to point themselves back around the right way and get themselves to go. We hope it's not going to come to that. We hope it's going to stay clean and green, but something to keep in mind here as we close down on the final 30 laps of this race.
Oh, I don't want to bring it up. Green-white checkers are always in the cards. And just when you think you won't get it, you probably do get it, and you extend this race by just a couple of laps and some extra miles. Remember, this field pitted not too long ago. A lot of these drivers on around 10 or so laps in a stint, but when they get around to the end of this race, there probably should be a lap 30 to 32. Maybe if you extend this race by 10 or so laps, you might just get a little close, DJ, to that fuel window, but we probably won't expect any troubles. But how about, I just want to say, how about Gary Sexton and Zach Wilson? They have been putting on a show. These two have been arguably the most aggressive at the front of the field if you're not counting Mario Miranda nor Kip Easley, and they were almost fighting, it looked like, while they were single file in lane. It was very interesting to watch, and it was kind of a moment of who's going to pull the trigger to go for the lead first.
Yeah, exactly. It's some very strong aggression there out of those two as we continue to see them fight. And the lights are now off on the iRacing safety car, so that means we'll be back to green flag racing next time by. But Sexton in particular making some big moves there. You saw him drifting down to the low lane, coming up to the high lane there, picking out where he wants to go. And that clearly tells me that that number 13 is not up in the front for kicks and giggles. He is there to win this race.
No holds barred. It's going to be full 150%. As the pace car will come off the pit road in just a couple of moments, we'll be half a lap away from that. We should get the green with about 27 laps to go, or just at least under that here in this Sunoco UltraTech 200. We are going to let you know once again that it looks to be 37th on to the front. They are all on the lead lap. 38th, Chris Progar is the first car 1 lap down, and we do have a majority of the drivers thankfully back in this race. Steven Stempian, Colin Forster, Lawson Peel. Remember, they have had all troubles in the first 2 stages of this event, but have found their way back and gonna try to at least muster something of what's left of this race, as Gary Sexton, Zach Wilson will lead them out of turn 4 and will bring us to the green. Sexton, the control car. We saw just how far they pushed ahead of the field heading into turn 1. Can that be the way to get them to the race win, or could that be disastrous and bite them at the end? Green flag in the air. The 13 gets a huge jump on Kip Easley on the bottom. Here comes Wilson to the lead for turn 1.
He's going to be out in the lead here, but he's going to have to try to clear down by Sexton, as there's just not going to be enough space, and there's not going to be enough help there for him, as now Mario Miranda hooks up to the back of the number 13, and that is going to be Wilson getting left out to dry.
We've seen so many disjointed restarts here in this race from the top 4 or 5 or so. It has separated everybody, and it has taken a couple of laps for those drivers who fall back to get back in line and get some significant drafting help. Wilson settles in what's going to be P5. He's going to look to the top. He'll get potential help from Shoemaker. Shoemaker backs out. Justin Erb will gain some ground. Wilson looks to attack on 3rd place, Kip Easley, but it is all Gary Sexton in control on the back straightaway.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it looks like Easley's going to be able to breeze on by the 51, as is Logan Sturgeon here at this point. Sturgeon finally finds some help and is able to pull in the line behind, or Wilson rather, is finally able to pull in the line behind Sturgeon as that high lane tries to get itself worked up here later on.
And Erb gets turned into the outside wall, but has to save it. He spins the race car, puts it into the wall. I think he keeps it out of trouble, gets into a couple of cars that were 4 wide in turns 1 and 2, but somehow, some way, we stay green.
My goodness gracious, it doesn't get much closer than that. Let's go back and check out the replay here. The number 20 in the center of your screen, coming off of turn 4, just gets this all kinds of wrong here, gets a bad bump, gets sideways. There you see him, gets up and saves it barely into the wall. That is one of the saves of the race for me.
That is so tough to do. In that kink of the quad oval, you can easily tank slap it into the safer barrier. Erb keeps it out of harm's way, does hit the wall, but hits it barely and then doesn't get into anyone else at all. Erb does drop back to 21st, so his chances for a race win might just be completely dashed. but that is an absolute masterclass of a save, and that's what's keeping this race green. Inside 25 laps to go, your top three have broken away by more than half a second. Wilson and company trying to gain the time back as they'll go on the back straightaway, and look at the broken up field, almost all single file.
Yeah, pretty much all single file here at this point, and it's going to be a superhuman effort, I think, for the likes of Wilson and Kunkel to try to gain back in on these top three, although now it looks like they're able to do just that, as Wilson's going to poke his way out to the outside, and that's going to be Kunkel following him on through.
He's got Kunkel to help, but question is, will that be sufficient to get him to the lead? Miranda might look up top. He decides to go back down low. He turns the 13. Sexton sideways. Miranda around. Sturgeon into the inside wall. And will that bring out the caution? It surely will. Yellow's out with 21 laps to go.
Oh, talk about heartbreak there for Gary Sexton, who is just having a perfect race and through no fault of his own is spun around there on the back straightaway.
Significantly unfortunate. There's the 13 whipping his Ford Mustang back straight, and it was a poor push by the 99 of Miranda. I think just a wrong place, wrong time scenario. Right there, the 13 ducks a little low. The 19 has a heap of momentum. And by the time he's up there, DJ, it is so hard to back out, because then you're going to just check up the inside lane and give yourself a disadvantage to Zach Wilson. So Miranda kept his foot in it. Unfortunately, caught off the almost quarter panel of the 13, sent him sideways with the real victim, Logan Sturgeon, in the 26. Third car in the inside lane, and he goes for an absolute ride on the back straightaway inside wall.
Yeah, watch this here as he tried to duck down and get out of all of this. There you see it. He just tried to move on down the track and hit there with hefty damage to the front end of that car. That number 26 is going to be limping here for sure.
And then more contact. You look at guys like Austin Reed and company going by. Some more hitting each other as they're getting around this crash. Here's another look at it. 13 gets sent sideways. Here's a look at Austin Reedy just in front of Judd Danielson. They all check up. That's Alex Muscarella in the 48. And then right there, so tough to predict where Sturgeon is as he's locking up the brakes. And a lot of them get some damage off of this, and what could have been a clean race to the end for them turns into some time spent on pit road to repair their cars. Austin Reedy, Chuck Feltz, Mario Miranda, and many others looking to deal with their race cars as Zach Wilson stays out in front. Ross Harlow, James Kunkel occupy the rest of the top three. And DJ, we're going to have an absolute showdown inside 20 to go.
Yeah, we most certainly are here at this point, as we will get restarted here, I think, on the next go-around. Not on this one, but on the next one. But really and truly a very, very tough run here for them. Oh, my goodness. This completely changes the complexion of this race up at the front of the field.
Yeah, it does. And now it puts up these opportunities for some of the drivers who really haven't had the spotlight all evening long. We've talked about Ross Harlow a couple of times in this race. Sure, he's been up front countless times, but he has not led at all in this event, at least in terms of most scenarios. James Kunkel as well. He's been a great pusher, but can he be a pushy? Can he be a leader? You look at Chris Shoemaker, who's been kind of stealthy all race long. He's been up inside the top 10, but it really hasn't put himself in the spotlight. His opportunity to do so. Curtis Kelly, Joe Sanchez looking to rebound after a great start to the race. Turned sour for them. Brandon Banks in the 54. We've seen him kind of be quiet all day. And then you look at Warren Kyle, Keith, Isaac Mock. DJ, final two drivers in this top 10. Both of them started 30th and what looks to be 8th respectively, but they really haven't had the best races at all. They've got a shot to win this thing if things go haywire.
Yeah, they certainly do, and they're going to have to just try to keep themselves calm here. That's going to be my message to all of these drivers. Don't throw this away in the final 20 laps or so. Keep it together, keep it calm, and that's going to see you up at the front of the field.
The madness is alive. We'll have 18 laps to go. You're from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Zach Wilson, your leader. He chooses the top, so he will elect to go with Kip Easley on the restart, although we haven't seen the second car in line be all too pushy when you get to that restart zone. Ross Harlow in the inside, row number 1. James Kunkel in P4. Chris Shoemaker, the inside of your top 5 for Prestige Worldwide Racing. Pace cars down. Toyota Camry of Zach Wilson, the Chevrolet Camaro of Ross Harlow lead him to the restart zone. Early jump by Wilson, clearing away from the rest of the field. Green flag is out. And again, another disjointed start from first and second all the way back to third, and the rest of the grouping. Here's Kunkel looking at a nose underneath Harlow. He makes contact.
A little bit of a bump there, but they're going to be able to keep it clean and keep it green here as they run. That was a big, big jump on the rest of the field for Zach Wilson, but now he is going to have to fight a little bit with Kip Easley, who's got, I believe, Shoemaker there up on the high side, and they've got a whole head of steam.
Yeah, Shoemaker giving a really good push to the 8 machine of Easley, going to keep him in the lead as the 5 aims to push to 51. Back to the front. They should even out by the time they get to turn 3. Never mind. The 4 gives a nice push to the 8, keeps him out in front. And a little more separation from the mid-pack inside the top 10. But it looks like that is not affecting the race for the lead. Wilson, now a good push by the 5. Kunkel again looks to the bottom of the racetrack. And the 51 and the 8 still even back to turn 1.
Yeah, they're still going to be even here as they go. Looks like the 5 there of Harlow almost thinking about giving a little bit of a bump through the corner. We are getting into the point in the race where you've got to start thinking about that as they continue to push here. Good run for Easley up in the front. That was the 51 of Wilson trying to side draft him there a little bit, but it didn't play out.
Again, a little close to the outside wall there in 3 and 4. Could have sworn that some drivers almost went fully into it. But it looks like everybody escapes that. A little bit of squiggles on the bottom of the racetrack. Here, Shoemaker and Easley going to merge in front of Wilson, and they'll take control on the bottom.
Yeah, they're going to take control on the bottom by about 3 or 4 cars here at this point. Good moves there being played in as they start to work their way towards the front.
Well, now what can you do if you're those drivers up at the outside? It looks like Shoemaker wants some help. He won't get it. There's a long ways to go before you get to Joe Sanchez. Into 55, they're scattering in the front. Wilson finds a way to the bottom. Easily left all by himself. He's going to have to pick up the 55 in turns 1 and 2. They'll get Isaac Mock. They'll get Wyatt Bracken. They'll get a heap of cars up there on the outside, including Sean Kalis. Now here's Kunkel looking for his own.
Is he going to be able to get anything? This is getting a little bit jumbled up here. Kunkel is going to lead that top pack. He's probably going to get a big bump here by Easley as it looked like there. Now Shoemaker's going to think about coming up to the high lane. No, he thinks better of it. Comes back down low.
Shoemaker's been flirting with both lanes. It looks like he's going to open it up to Curtis Kelly, so he wants a bit of that run on the exit of 2 by James Kunkel, and it has been awfully difficult to find the runs where they are at this track. It's been a little harder than, let's say, what you would expect at Daytona and Talladega, because either lane has power, but either lane has been somewhat inconsistent with the way they deliver that power with who's in line. And the 4 makes the good decision. He's going to lead the top side as they cross the stripe. Will be inside 12 laps to go in this Sunoco UltraTech 200. Shoemaker potentially looking for the lead, but only has a run that's good enough to fight with Kelly for second.
Only good enough to fight here at this point, but we still have about 11, 12 laps to go. You see Harlow giving that big bump to the back of Zach Wilson here as they run through the corner, trying to see what he's able to do. Harlow careful not to give the bump midway through the corner there. Shoemaker looking like he's gaining some speed up on that high line.
And they're going to check up on the bottom. That's good news for everyone up top. They've got what appears to be more cars. Here's a look on board with what looks to be the 51 of Zach Wilson. He's got the side full. The 4 machine of Shoemaker pushes ahead. Shoemaker in the lead for the first time from Atlanta.
And he's going to try to carry more speed up on the high lane, but it just doesn't look like he and Kunkel are really not locked up together as much as they were down on that low lane. And Kenneth, you've just called this out. We've got a lapped car coming up.
It is a lap car up in front of the leaders. It's the 11 of Ray Rogers. Remember, some of the scattering we had in the front of the field when they approached lap traffic, will Rogers give way to the field? It looks like he will. So that is good news for Wilson. Won't have to worry about lap cars impeding in the way. There's Rogers, that Toyota Camry on the inside. So he'll let everybody through. No problems through lap traffic. Wilson in control. Shoemaker looking to fight back this time.
Looking to fight back around that outside groove here as they go. And what a fight back there it was. He's going to lead as they dive down into turn 1.
In turn 1, Shoemaker with the advantage. Wilson looking to stay put on the bottom. It looks like he will. But this is going to be worse news for the drivers on the inside. That top side had a huge coherent push that gave the 4 complete clearance at the front, and they'll respond on the inside. And this is only going to continue this way if we do not get a caution inside. 8 laps to go from Atlanta.
8 laps to go in that middle of the pack, starting to look a little bit squirrely there, starting to look a little bit dangerous as they run 3 wide back down for about 10th place.
And for anyone in this top 10, DJ, do you want to be the car 2nd, 3rd, 4th in line, or would you rather be Wilson and Shoemaker up at the front controlling each lane?
I want to be Wilson and Shoemaker. I do not want to have to scrap for positions. I do not want to have to mess with 3 wide. I want to be in control of this. But look at that. That was Kunkel almost thinking about making it 3 wide up for the lead as they cross over the stripe here with 7 to go.
James Kunkel, Kip Easley, both teammates at Nitro Motorsports. They are affiliates of Prestige Worldwide Racing, so that is good for the 4 of Shoemaker. They've got teammate and affiliate control. The top crash!
Yellow!
And outside turn 2. It's a big one. Dustin Reeves, Justin Miller, Justin Erb, and the yellow's out. Inside what's going to be 6 laps to go. I think the first time we see Dustin Reeves in an incident all evening up to this point. They stacked up and picked each other up on the outside wall, and that brings out the yellow. Field to rest.
Yes, it does, and that's going to set up what is almost a virtual green-white checker as they are the number 20 getting into contact again. A tough run there out the day for the number 20, but everybody's just getting involved in that and syncing up together.
Yeah, it just looked like Miller looked for the inside on Erb and just got a little too high up on the racetrack. Got into the quarter panel of the 20. And they get Dustin Reeves, who's on the bottom. They also get Garrett Brown, that yellow and blue Ford Mustang, sponsored by Best Buy. Garrett Brown, unfortunately, I think the 2nd time that he's been involved in a crash here from Atlanta. Here's another look at it. There's the hit. And there they all just merge up in the wall. The dust will settle on the back straightaway. As there's Garrett Brown. And there's some more cars getting by. Justin Erb, a bit of the damage, and just that Ford, or the front rather, of the Chevrolet Camaro just completely pancaked and torn up.
Yeah, definitely torn up there. That's going to be a virtual end to his race here at this point as we take one more look at it. Going to ride on board here as you come down into the corner, and you're really going to be able to see everything just kind of flay itself out in front.
This is Parker Bland, the 18 car, sees the smoke slows down. No Parker Bland as the famous drifter in this series, but this time just keeps the car without going sideways, keeps it straight, just pretty much picks up the aftermath of the incident. We're not sure whether that is the complete end of the race for what looks to be Bill Schoonover, what looks to be the 16 of Garrett Brown for Dustin Reeves. I think their races might be over, but they're on pit road trying to assess the damage to their cars, but it is significant to either one of them. And with that, it'll leave Zach Wilson up at the front. But like you said, TJ, it's going to be a good point. We might just end up in an organic green-white checkered restart. We might not need to extend this race at all unless we get another yellow. But this is good for Shoemaker, who had been kind of quiet all night long. Made that move to the top in front of James Kunkel. Trusted his own affiliate. And look where that's got him. Outside or inside of row number 1. Give or take where the 51 goes on the restart.
Yeah, exactly, and he's going to be able to make that choice here as they come across the line, because we should get the 1 to go mark here as they come across. And I think here for Shoemaker, he's just got to try to keep his foot in it. Now he's going to have either Harlow or Kunkel there behind him. Both of those drivers have shown they're experienced pushers. They know exactly what they want to do. So if I'm Shoemaker, I'm riding pretty high right now. I feel pretty good, and it looks like he's going to be starting up on that high lane.
So decision by Zach Wilson. He's going to be on the bottom, so Shoemaker will have to choose the top regardless, and I don't think that's the best decision if you're Wilson. You've got teammates up there working together, and Wilson in the 51 is kind of a sitting duck in this case. But we'll just see how this all plays out as he will lead this race. Shoemaker 2nd, Harlow and Kunkel 3rd and 4th. Curtis Kelly, your top 5. Kip Easley back in 6th. Kevin Hurley in 7th. 8th to Joe Sanchez. 9th to Isaac Mock, and 10th to Wyatt Brackett. DJ, for any one of these cars behind your leaders, what do you do to win this race?
Look for an opening. Look for an opportunity. Try to be able to work your way forward, but don't throw it all away. It's going to be a fine line in finding that aggression and finding that restraint here. The one driver that I'm going to keep my eye on, though, that I've kind of been watching this entire race, Kip Easley in that number 8. We've seen him be aggressive. He may be one to make some moves here in these final couple of laps.
He may, and with the fact that he's got teammates with him, that may just make him all the more dangerous with how quick he's been all night long. And you look at the potential window to go for a pass. We're going to get a restart with about 3 or so laps to go. We've seen passes completed inside 2, inside the final lap, on the final corner, or on the back straightaway. There's many options, but only one could be the correct one, or maybe we just need the leaders stay out front and control the pace. Pace cars down for what might be the final time. Here from Atlanta, the Sunoco UltraTech 200 back under green with about 3 laps to go. And look at the whole field, first through fifth, single file at the exit of turn 2. They're door-to-door for 6th on back. That's Curtis Kelly against Joe Sanchez, but the word stays with the front 5 into turn 3.
Yeah, Chris Shoemaker there thought about trying to make it too wide, holding on to the high lane, but he just opted against it to hold on down low. And I've got to say, I kind of like that call from him. They're going to come to the line here with 2 to go as these front 4 continue to be in that position. And look who's up on the high lane here, the driver who I mentioned earlier, Kip Easley.
Kip Easley saw the momentum on the top by Joe Sanchez, wanted to go up there for the taking. The 4th Shoemaker joins them. He'll stack them up, but the PWR and Nitro Motorsports affiliate teammates are going to again work together. Kunkel with a huge run in 3 and 4. They're 4 wide in 3 and 4. 1 car around into the outside wall. That's Isaac Mock, and we are headed to overtime.
Green-white checker in the air, and we will have this re-racked and restacked. An unfortunate incident there causing some pain a little bit farther back down in the field.
It started with what appears to be the green and black Ford Mustang of Mario Miranda. We looked on the inside, and then I think just tried to find a hole right about here with the 13 and the 30. That's Gary Sexton and Wyatt Brackett going up to the outside wall. And then as the 47 slides up, the 99 tried to find the space in the middle, but ultimately way too close, and Miranda could not make that work. Gets into the 47, hooks him into the top of the 28 degrees of banking. Also catches Austin Reedy in this as well. Here's a look on board from the Teamer Designs, number 96.
Yeah, and this is just running in there, and you can see that gap just kind of closing up in front of him there. Car starting to fan out in front as he holds it together here at this point. There's the car up into the wall. There's Sexton. Just nowhere to go, unfortunately, for the 96.
And Reedy has had some poor luck here from Atlanta in what was a race that started off his way. It was up at the front, helping his teammates. And it looks like now he's been involved in a couple of crashes, and this race just only continues to get worse for him. And that appears as well to be front toe link damage. So for Austin Reedy, I think he's going to have to spend more time on pit road, and will eye on whether he can even make it to the checkered flag under green flag circumstances, and as well under his own power if that car lets him. So James Kunkel in the lead, and DJ, this looked like a genius move at the time as they were coming for the white flag, but it is so tough in this case because now he's in the lead. He does not have a choice of teammates either here either. I think he's got Chris Shoemaker in potentiality to be second in one of the rows, but still, Kunkel had the position made. That would have been the move for the win, but now he has to do it all over again in the catbird seat. How things change so quickly.
Yeah, indeed, things really and truly changing around here on these drivers. He's going to have to push his way forward at this point, and, well, we're going to have to see how good he is up at the front of the field.
So as we see it here, this restart could go the way of Kunkel. He does have the option of a teammate because Wilson is going to be on either the outside or inside. Ross Harlow, who had been working well with the 51 up until this point, will end up in one of the rows. The 4 of Chris Shoemaker also as well. We'll see where things line up. I think we should get the 1 to green signal this time through. Indeed, we will. So lights off on the iRacing official pace car. James Kunkel, your leader. Wilson on the outside. And just as I thought, the affiliates are not going to be together. When we go green, it's going to be Harlow on the bottom and Shoemaker on the top. We'll explain the green-white checkered rules for you as it goes. We'll restart with 2 laps to go, and we'll try to finish this race under green flag circumstances. If we do get a yellow before the leader gets to the white flag, then we will stack them up and do them all over again. We have 3 attempts to finish this race under green. However, if the leader does get to the white, we finish this race no matter what. And then the last option, which we hope isn't the case here tonight, is that if we exhaust all 3 of our green-white checkered attempts, then whoever was the leader at the time of the final caution will be the winner. And we'll have it decided in this Sunoco UltraTech 200. DJ, your final thoughts for what could be our last restart?
Keep it clean, keep it together, and wait until the run coming off of turn 4. We've seen plenty of good runs be able to develop there at that point. If you're up in the top 4 coming out of 4, you've got a chance at this.
All right, we'll try and end this race under green. James Kunkel, Zach Wilson, your 2 leaders, Ross Harlow, Chris Shoemaker, 3rd and 4th. And then Curtis Kelly to round out your top 5. Kip Easley, Joe Sanchez, Kevin Hurley, Alex Muscarella, and Mario Miranda. The rest of your top 10. Pace cars down. First attempt at a GWC. It's a stack up on the restart. They don't know where to go. Wilson's up ahead. Will that be a penalty?
We'll have to wait and find out there. I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be a penalty or not, but right now Wilson up in the front of this field by a country mile.
And will he get eaten up by the rest of the field? I think there may have been a black flag issued to the 51 by race control for jumping the restart. Kunkel and Chris Shoemaker are coming up fast. They're going to go to the outside lane. And looks like Ross Harlow is into the outside wall. They're 3 wide out of turn 4 to the white flag.
Here they come down to the line, and the white flag is in the air. The next flag will finish it out, Kenneth.
This is so unfortunate for Zach Wilson, who tried to time that restart correctly. Kunkel was waiting later than usual. Now he's got the lead. It looks like Wilson will have his black flag cleared. He gave up the spot. Final opportunity in 3 and 4. They crash on the back straightaway. Shoemaker, Kelly looking for one last effort. Kelly to the outside of Shoemaker, though even now, but out of turn 4, it's Kunkel's race to win. Kunkel wins the Sunoco UltraTech 200 from Atlanta.
Curtis Kelly with a great run to be able to get that over Chris Shoemaker there at the line. An absolutely fantastic run.
James Kunkel had the lead at the drop of the green on the last restart, and we thought he could have gotten it ripped away from him after he made what might have been the race-winning move a couple of laps prior. But the 3 holds on and survives. Will take the checkered flag, and what's most important, DJ Clark, Kunkel is in the Season 6 playoffs.
Yes, he is. He parks it right across the stripe right there, waiting for those burnouts from the number 3, and take them. They are well-deserved. That was an incredibly well strategically done race. He did a fantastic job, and he certainly deserves this.
Kunkel parks it at the start-finish line, and what looks to be nothing but absolute elation behind the wheel of that 3. As the Aflac machine gets to victory lane, and this is Nitro Motorsports' win as well. And what looked to be a full team effort, with Kip Easley giving support, with what looked to be the affiliate, and Chris Shoemaker giving support as Shoemaker comes home second. And it looks like the 3 is just going to park it. I don't even think he wants to sell. I don't even think he wants to do a burnout. He just wants to take in this moment. And just an unbelievable race for him and an unbelievable finish.
Yeah, very, very much so. Let's go ahead and check out the replay here of that last lap coming on through, and that little bit of a checkup here, the early potential go. Yeah, there you see it, just a little bit of a hesitation there by the 51 of Zach Wilson, and that's what set everything off.
Yeah, it looked like, I think, from the 51's perspective, he could see the 3 catching ground on the restart. I think that gave him the signal, hey, it's time to go. But then all of a sudden, he pushes out to almost a full second lead over the field, and he's saying, what's happening? You see him drop back to the field because he has absolutely no draft. He has a black flag. It gets cleared as he gives up this spot. You'll watch it here, and they'll stack up in turn 4. A couple of drivers strike the safer barrier, and there were 3 wide. That's Kip Easley making slight contact with Ross Harlow, and then they're going to start crashing around the next half lap or so on this white flag. They stack them up. The field narrows back to 2 wide action. And then 3 in control. This is where he never let up. And I think right about here they make contact. This is Alex Muscarella in the middle, 3 wide. There he is getting set up into the wall. And then more contact right about there. That's Wilson getting into Ross Harlow, getting them sideways. It's just 3 cars left, side by side for second. And DJ, that's all more than enough to keep the 3 in the race lead.
I mean, it's just a fantastic 2 laps there from him to absolutely run down when he needed to. Brilliant stuff there from him. Absolutely incredible.
We'll try and settle ourselves out, give ourselves an exhale quickly after this race from Atlanta Motor Speedway and a chaotic green-white checkered run to the end. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back with more coverage and our post-race show. Don't miss a thing. We'll be back on the other side on Podium Esports.
What I'm really proud is that I own MPI, the steering wheel company, and I'm building the steering wheel. This is my creation.
This is yours.
Yes.
It's so sexy.
The steering wheel, it's a very unique thing. It's shaped on the hand of Scott Dixon.
His hand.
Yeah. This grip has 27% more grip feel than suede. Scott in the race is gonna make less effort when he drives. When you're in the car, it's like lifting, it's like having 40-pound dumbbell like this, maybe more in the car.
For how long?
3.5 hours. You know, average heart rate in the car, never below 150. Never below 150. You need to be a real athlete to drive.
Yeah.
They exercise every day. So this is my creation.
Amazing.
And we did.
Fuller,
Yeah,
needed F-150 for Smith build.
got it.
Yesterday,
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
how's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
Fuller,
Yeah,
needed F-150 for Smith build.
got it.
Yesterday,
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
how's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
Hi guys, today me and Moose welcome to my extremely formal presentation of my 2 latest creations, the MPI Sim chassis and the MPI foldable stand. When I created the MPI chassis, I wanted to have everything included, what it means. So in the MPI chassis, I wanted to have everything you need besides the electronics. So it has the keyboard tray, mouse tray, adjustability, TV stand, computer stand, super stiff pedal assembly, a seat that if you want, if you don't have a lot of space, you can fold it. If you have limited space, I solved your problem. The MPI wheel stand, you can use any component you want on it, and at night, fold in half, very limited space, and you can put it away. You can use your own chair, your own TV, problem solved.
While we've been away, Race Control has been looking at the last lap of the Sunoco UltraTech 200. We were in store for a fantastic finish. We looked like at first that James Kunkel crossed the line for the checkered flag to win the first race of Season 6, but it appears that Race Control, after taking a long look at the restart and the festivities that happened in the final 2 laps, they will bump James Kunkel to 28th on the running order as the results, and that will hand the lead to the driver who comes home second, unofficially, now first officially, Curtis Kelly in the 71. Both of them have been parked on the quad oval front straightaway of this Atlanta Motor Speedway since Race Control stated they were going to be on race review, and it looks like it is official. The 71 of Curtis Kelly deemed the winner here from Atlanta Motor Speedway, DJ, and the reason for it, not maintaining pace speed, and obviously, from a first glance, a very awkward-looking restart. It looked like of Race Control's decision. It looked like James Kunkel had slowed down to a speed that was not suitable for pace speed going into the restart zone, hence why Wilson had gotten such a huge jump on the field. He was black flagged from Race Control, and they did not give it back. Curtis Kelly now the winner.
Yeah, and that's the decision from Race Control, and after looking at the results there and looking at the tape, that is what they have handed down. A heartbreak there for Kunkel, but them's the breaks. He definitely slowed down. We had a chance to look at the replay ourselves, and he was down to about 48 miles per hour coming through that restart zone, and they have penalized him for it.
They did penalize him, and that is a tough break for Kunkel, who for a good couple of minutes thought he had this race won and thought he had a golden ticket to the playoffs. And it looks like that will not be the case. Curtis Kelly, who, by the way, got stacked up on the inside lane as a result of that last restart, he finishes this race in the race win, first win for Fast Banana this season. It'll be Chris Shoemaker, who put up a fantastic run to the finish, ends up second, being rewarded for that. Kevin Hurley ends up inside your top 3. A pretty quiet night for the Target Chevrolet, but still a very good finishing running position. Zach Wilson ends up in P4. Joe Sanchez rounds out your top 5, and then you look at the rest of the top 10. Adcock in his number 23 machine, that is Aaron Adcock, had a couple of troubles in this race, somehow still rebounds for that position. Joseph Mohar also got caught up in a crash in this race, ends up 7th though. Travis Stevens in the 2 was 1 lap down in the first stage of this event. He ends up 8th after starting in 39th. It'll be a 9th place finish for Warren Kyle Keith, and Dakota Curtis. DJ Clark rounds out your top 10.
Yeah, in 11th place, it's going to be Gary Sexton, who was able to fight his way back. Then it's going to be Sean Kalis, Garrett Brown, and Casey Knighton with Chris Progard to round out your top 15. 15. And then it was Mario Miranda, who was as high as running up into the lead of the race earlier on in this race. Justin Irby there, Dakota Wilson, Brandon Banks, and Ryan Kendall rounding out your top 20.
There goes everybody 21st on back, starting with Ross Harlow, who got into a crash in that final lap to the finish. Dustin Reeves ends up 22nd. 23rd it will be for Justin T. Miller. It'll be 24th for Parker Bland in the 18. Brad Fulham in the 19 rounds out your top 25. Then goes Richard Swavely in P26. 27th to Justin Winters. 28th for Alex Muscarella, who is the first car one lap down. He also got caught up in a crash in the back straightaway at the white flag. Kip Easley in 29th, also a lap down. James Kunkel, like we said, I think he's officially bumped to 28th, but on our charts he is shown as the last driver inside the top 30.
In 31st, it was a relatively good recovery there for Chuck Feltz, and then unfortunately Bill Schoonover there, who had a little bit of a good run earlier on, finds himself back down in 32nd. Behind him, it was Austin Reedy, Ray Rogers, and Wyatt Brackett to round out your top 35. Then Isaac Monk, Logan Sturgeon, Judd Danielson, Jesse Whittington, and Colin Forrester round out your top 40. These drivers getting into some problems out there, obviously, as you can imagine. Stephen Stippian, Lawson Peel, and Austin Shoemaker rounding out your 43-car grid.
So that's your entire field unofficially here from Atlanta Motor Speedway, but after race control review, it is the 71 of Curtis Kelly. Started this race in 7th, had been up there near the end, and now decided the winner of the Sunoco UltraTech 200. Curtis, I think first of all, most obvious, give us your perspective on what those last 2 laps were like on that green white checkered restart, and the wait that you had to experience on the quad oval before race control decided that you were the winner.
Just want to say right off the bat, huge respect to James Kunkel, teammate from last year. He deserved the win if it wasn't for some rule technicalities, but the last laps there, it was just kind of a jump free start there, kind of no one knew what was going on, a little bit of issues with the speeds. And from that point, it's all about building as much speed as you can in the chaos that's going on and seeing how far up the ladder you can climb. And you're lucky to find the holes in the right spot and not have the energy get blocked at any point and speed up the whole way to the line. I knew P2 was going to be important there. Like, I didn't know if it was going to be a win or not, but either way, coming home, podium finish at Atlanta, race I started my season at kind of late last year. It's really satisfying to get a win off the bat and be able to not stress for a bit, get some playoff points in the bank.
Locked into the playoffs for season 6. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but I want to discuss a little more in detail about this race. You did get caught up in a spin earlier on. I remember seeing you on the apron during one of the big crashes in turns 1 and 2. You found a way to rebound back, and there were the stages. Stage 1, stage 2, very different. Then came that final one before this green white checkered finish. How much did you have to adjust behind the wheel, and what was that experience like?
I said it at the halfway point of this race that, well, this just turned into a whole new race, because the first half of the race was a fast banana versus Zach Wilson and whoever was pushing him kind of battle, it felt. Colin and Reedy at the front were really working well together, and unfortunately they got caught up at the end of that second stage there, because the first stage was all about just staying in the top 10, trying to put the stage points together for the season-long picture, but not get into too much chaos and see what the track was going to play out like. But once we got into the second half, it was all about big picture racing, making sure we brought it home and putting ourselves in the position to win like we did all last year. I hate to get a win this way, kind of, but racing, that's what it is. It's all about being there to pick it up when you can. We had a lot of opportunities last season to get the win, and this year we had the chance. Early on in that last half of the race, I was actually one of the only cars to pit, I think, from P3, and that was all about getting the fuel in the tank, because I knew we could probably get all the way to the end with a little bit extra fuel, and I don't think many people could had we got the green flag run all the way to the end. And we got pretty far there. I think it was about 25 laps left in the race until we started doing the stop racing, where it was a drag race, then survival.
course, all you could ask for is to try and be there at the end. And I know you said probably not the best way you would want to get a win in this Sunoco Cup Series to kick off the year, but nonetheless, you've got this win. You're locked into the playoffs for this season. So now what's the mindset looking like going into Circuit of the Americas for race 2 and all the other events leading up to the last regular season event at Daytona?
Really excited for Coda. We had a fun league race that you commented on this past week. So I think, we've got a lot of strong road racers in this series. They're going to put on a good show for the fans. But it's all about helping the teammates from this point on out, picking up some stage points if we can, through maybe picking up some playoff points if we can through a win or a victory, but doing what we can for the team and just keeping it clean and learning, building for the end of the season.
Keep your momentum high and bring your teammates along with you. Sounds like a plan. Curtis, on behalf of our entire Podium Esports broadcast team, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us. Congratulations on the win here tonight from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Welcome to the playoffs. We'll see you at Coda next week.
Appreciate it.
That's Curtis Kelly in the 71, decided your winner here in the Sunoco UltraTech 200 from Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll have a chance to talk to the one who comes officially home in second. That is Chris Shoemaker. DJ Clark, you've got him.
I do indeed, Chris. It seemed like every time we were looking up there, you were involved in some sort of the action out there today. Talk me what it was like behind the wheel of the number 4 here today.
Hey, I tell you what, I hate this for James. First of all, I didn't see it that way, but we've got a great group of admins, and I trust what they had to say about it. But really unfortunate for him. They're an affiliate team of ours, and I was rooting for him there at the end. But anyway, sorry it didn't work out. But yeah, our affiliation with Nitro Team, it's really working out. I had a lot of good guys up there to work with tonight. My guys on my team, PWR, they seemed to get caught up in a lot tonight. So it seemed like every time there was a wreck, they were caught up in it. So hated for those guys too, but would like to see them up there with us.
Well, in terms of your run here today, though, I mean, it looked like you had the speed. Did you have a chance really there at the line? It looked like you and Curtis were absolutely duking at it. How close were you to pulling it off?
Well, with all the chaos on that restart, everybody was yelling, that they need to review it. It was pretty distracting, honestly. But, I gave Kunkel a shot there and ended up gapping us, and I don't think I could have got caught back up to him. But then Kelly got on my outside there and just went right around me at the line. But, no, I don't think I had anything for Kunkel tonight. Not at that finish anyway.
Well, as we turn our sights to the next race, we head over to the Circuit of the Americas, doing a little bit of right turns around there. How do you like the chances for you in the number 4 machine?
Yeah, I like Coda. It's one of my favorite tracks. Unfortunately, I'm going on vacation next week, so I'll not be here. But I hate to miss it. But at least we got good points tonight, and hopefully it doesn't hurt us too bad.
Well, then we will have to see you in 2 weeks' time, my friend. But as for tonight, who makes this possible? Who'd you like to thank?
First and foremost, I got to thank my wife. She puts up with me putting a lot of time in on this, and I appreciate her to death. But my teammates, we've been together since we started doing this a few years ago. And Dustin's the owner of our team, Dustin Reeves, and then my son, Austin Shoemaker, and Garrett Brown. Those guys are great. We're all good friends in real life, and we have a good time here. But again, I want to thank our affiliate as well, Nitro Team. So I got a brother, David. I appreciate him watching as well. He tunes in a lot of times, so I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you, Chris. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
All right, thanks, guys.
Well, Kenneth, that was Chris Shoemaker, your second place finisher here tonight, and I believe you've been able to catch up with P3, Kevin Hurley.
Yes, sir, indeed. Here with the driver of the 25, Kevin Hurley, who comes home on the podium here from Atlanta Motor Speedway. And Kevin, it felt like since the start of this race, we could not go a moment without seeing this bright red Chevy Camaro sponsored by Target up at the front of the field, and definitely one of the cleanest cars all night long. How were you able to keep this car clean, number one, and how were you able to escape all the chaos here tonight?
Well, I was just playing it really patient. I didn't want to put myself in a situation. I stayed low. I stayed in the bottom line most of the time until I wanted to make up positions, and I guess play the field that way. Because if the wreck's happening in front of you and you're in the bottom, you can avoid it much easier than if you're at the top. I feel like that played a little bit of a part in it, and it was easy to see because Warren gave me a bright red car with a target on top. So
Well, nonetheless, this race really goes your way in an amount of case. And you talked about there, you wanted to roll the bottom the entire time. You didn't want to go to the top unless you wanted to make positions. How did that work throughout this race? What things did you learn in particular at this track that might have been different, might have been unique to others who race on the schedule? And how were you able to use that to your advantage?
Well, the outside does not start well. I don't start well when I'm in second. I learned that. And on fresh tires, it seemed like the outside was fast. And as they wore and your car started to push a little bit more, you wanted to be closer to the bottom so you could avoid a wall. And I don't know, it just basically feeling which line was faster and going for gaps. Yeah.
Well, nonetheless, it is a third place finish here from the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. We head to our first road course for race number 2 next week. What are your thoughts on Austin, Texas, and that track over there?
It's it's a big track. That's a long race. I've never been too good at it. I think it's too. I don't like how flat it is. That doesn't make any sense. It's not flat at all. I don't like how flat the turns are. I like banking and turns. It's just the way it is. It's really wide. It's a strange track. It's fun. I'm just not good at it.
Well, nonetheless, this third place finish, some good momentum here in the first race of Season 6 for the Sunoco Cup Series. Kevin, on behalf of our entire broadcast team, congrats on the podium, and we'll look forward to seeing you at COTA next Sunday.
See you there.
So that is the driver of the 25, Kevin Hurley, for his team, ends up in third officially as of the final race control decision. And DJ, we had a wild up and down race, but it's certainly what we expected at a track like Atlanta that's so new still to many on the iRacing service, and even to the real pros that raced earlier this afternoon on Sunday. These drivers learned a lot, though. We did have a chaotic finish, a lot of great racing, and then obviously up in the air, Curtis Kelly, James Kunkel waiting for that race control decision. It's a tough break for Kunkel there. Thought he had the win, but for Curtis Kelly, some good news. He gets to bring that fast banana Chevrolet to the playoffs off of the win this evening.
Well, and it just goes to show you, you've got to dig until the absolute line. I mean, we were hooting and hollering about that run between Kelly and Shoemaker coming to the line when it looked like Kunkel had this race done and decided. And if Kelly had just said, you know what, I'm fine with third place, he wouldn't have been able to walk away with the win, and we'd be having a different conversation all entirely. So, but to your point, a very chaotic race out here today. It is part and parcel what we can expect here from Atlanta going forward.
It's kind of felt like the Wild West, but the Wild West is going to be the race that we'll see 1 week from tonight. COTA, Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, and that track certainly difficult to drive in the hot Texas sun. That one, like Kevin Hurley was saying, it's got elevation, but it's a very oddball track. It wasn't built for stock cars, but they race on there anyway. What are your thoughts on that and how we're going to see the field handle that track?
Bringing a next-gen NASCAR around a Herman Tilke-inspired circuit, not inspired, design circuit like COTA is one of the hardest things you can do in the world. Those cars are not meant to go around those corners, and it is a nearly superhuman effort to be able to extract a good lap time out of these next-gen cars around COTA. And every time we go there, I love it more and more. It produces fantastic racing because of that inherent sort of miscommunication on design. It is really fun to watch. It's really great to see, and I encourage everybody to tune in next week.
You know what? Add more challenges to the field. They'll handle it, and it's going to be a spectacle to watch. That's for sure. Curtis Kelly locked into the playoffs after this win in the Sunoco UltraTech 200, and that will do it for our coverage here on Podium Esports from the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. So for Dakota Curtis and all the admins at the Sunoco Cup Series, for Gary Sexton and John Theodore at Podium Esports, for our producer tonight, Ryan Bauer, our camera creator, Dougie Beard, and for my colleague in the booth, DJ Clark, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying so long and good night from virtual Hampton, Georgia. Congratulations to Curtis Kelly on the win. We'll see you at Circuit of the Americas 1 week from tonight.